What's up?
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of Weekly Tactics. We got RCtech here and Indes. Super excited for this episode. And yeah, I think we're kind of privileged today because we got 3 players in the top 10 right now. We're going to discuss strategy, tournament results, basically probably anything you can think of that's Axie related is kind of up for grabs in this type of episode. So I'll go ahead and let RCtech introduce himself first, and then we can move on to Indes, and we'll just get straight into it.
Well, my name is RCtech. People call me RC. I'm basically I'll call it the master troll in the Axie community. Don't take me too seriously. I just laugh. I just, like to laugh. And, I like Axies. I have my Axies, I have my land, I have my estate, and I'm basically waiting for land gameplay. That's my story.
Yep.
The end.
You and I both.
Yeah. Indes, your turn.
My turn. Okay. I'm Indes. I enjoy playing the game, and that's about it.
Wow, that's very efficient.
Seems like a right fit for Indes here. He's very subtle, but to the point, and yeah, it's very Indes-like response. But so I want to get into it, and we'll start with the most recent tournament that had happened. I think it was, what was it called? The PGFK, Polyant Games, something Palooza?
Yes, something like that.
PGFK Palooza, I think.
Yeah. And so what did you all think of that tournament? Like, was there anything that stood out as far as, and we're going to talk mostly strategy and whatnot in this series, but was there anything that kind of stuck out for you guys as far as what Axies were able to progress, any kind of BS type of moves, whatnot?
For me, let me first say, I hated my first round matchup. I had to play James, Binary Sun. And, you can never win again in that situation, right? I almost lost as well, but still. If I win, I won against a kid, a 5-year-old. I don't know. How old is he? 7, 8?
Turned 8, I think.
If I lose, I'm forever the one who loses against a 7-year-old kid. I mean, he's talented. I have to give him that. But still, it was 2-1. Yeah, well, I didn't know his team, so I lost the first one, countered it, the second match, and clutched it in the third. So I'm happy about that.
Nice. Yeah, James, he is kind of, you can't underestimate James. Like, his team, and I'm trying to pull it up for everyone on the stream, but his team is actually insane. Like, they are some pretty dangerous Axies, and he actually manages his energy quite well.
Yep.
So yeah, he definitely has a good understanding of when to aggress and when not to. But I think just what he has to pick up. I don't think he knows the class, like which class does better against which. So that can sometimes lead to him taking some tough losses. But yeah, I've watched his stream, and he pushes up quite high, doesn't he? He was nearly top 50 last stream. He beat Z on stream. Yeah.
That he did. So RC, your first game was against James, and you had a good point there. It's like, it's kind of a lose-lose scenario for you, where you win, you just beat a kid, and you lose, and now you're gonna go down in history as losing to James in the tournament. So Indes, tell me about your first game, and well, not your first game, but tell me about your overall experience and kind of what you thought overall about kind of the different Axies that were being used and what your response to that was.
So throughout my games, the early stages, it was against a lot of people that had kind of 1 or 2 teams. So the first game, as RC did, was I'd always play like a feeler team. I'd try and play something that was fairly safe. And then in the second, I'd try and build a team that I knew I was comfortable with, but would definitely perform well against theirs. So I was facing a lot of bird beast kind of combos, and then some reptiles, but they tended to. I think I played it against Riles, and he had a lot of reptiles. But aside from that, it was mainly just the bird beast combos with the fast backdoor birds, and then some people were using rimps, but I definitely saw more of a shift towards the non-rimp beasts in the tournament yesterday.
Yeah, the Axie beast.
Yeah.
What do you think about that Axie beast? I mean, it seems like it's going in that direction.
Yeah, we saw Axie being used quite a bit, like effectively in the tournament. However, I will say there was some pretty insane situations where Axie shouldn't have been like ideal in that same situation if like they played effectively, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there were definitely a lot of mistakes against the Axie, which led to it looking as though it was a lot more effective than it could have been. I definitely think on beasts, there shouldn't really, unless you're really tight for energy, there shouldn't really be a situation where you allow the Axie to be triggered. But I don't know if you watched any matches with the backliners that have kind of Axie Wall Gecko kind of combos. They definitely seem, I think Iron Man runs one where it's very difficult because of the Wall Gecko. It messes with your calculations, so you don't actually know when it will be below the 30% range or not. So that's,
I know which one. It's
yeah,
the Axie Cactus, Green Thorns, Wall Gecko, I think.
Yeah, so it's got a lot of damage, but it also has a deceptive amount of shield with the Green Thorns combo, and then the Wall Gecko on top just makes it a very difficult Axie to play against.
Yeah, that would be really frustrating because you're mostly going to be able to trigger Axie most of the time with that Wall Gecko. So, you know, even if they have a 4-move combo on you, you can just go Axie Wall Gecko, and you're most likely still going to survive.
Yep.
So in general, what do you guys think about Wall Gecko? Still OP, or is it?
Yeah, I think Wall Gecko is still a little bit too overpowered as far as the damage it reduces. I think tone it down by maybe 10 or 20%, to be honest.
I'd like to see it change to a 15% reduction, so then it's in line with the rest of the calculation, so it just makes it a lot easier. Like it'd be like your normal class and class bonus or matchup disadvantage. I think maybe just changing the stats a bit, because right now it seems to be very, like, it's a low risk, high reward card, because if you attack and they don't do anything, you still get the 100 free damage off. And on top of that, the 25% is just insane. So I think maybe if the damage was changed down to 80, maybe the defense like an 80-40 and then 15%, we could see from there if it was still as strong. But right now it can just shut down full pushes, and especially if you can double it up, then 50% damage reduction is just incredible.
Yeah, because it stacks right now, and that's the issue I have with it. It's either, well, I think either way it should be reduced by 5% at least, either way. But I do think that it should not be able to stack. I think that's the main issue that I've been seeing with Wall Gecko here. What do you think, RC?
Well, I'm usually losing, I guess, Wall Geckos because I use plants, and usually people use Wall Gecko and a slightly higher speed than my plants, because I use usually in the range of 33 to 35, because I can put at least one beast move on it. And yeah, it's just hard to kill. I mean, whatever I do, I basically have to energy drain all turns, and even then it's still almost not doable for me. But I have to say I use triple plants a lot, so it's a bit risky in itself.
Yeah, what did you guys think about the plants that were being used? We saw a lot of plant-heavy teams, especially a lot of plant finisher Axies like backliners, and they seem to be pretty successful. However, I noticed there was a lot of mistakes being made with these kind of finisher Axies. So what are your overall thoughts of these kind of, the plants that were used in the tournament as finisher Axies and how effective they are?
Well, I think generally backline plants or reptiles comboed with like a high damage beast, it does really well to balance the damage across the team. And that sort of setup tends to be fairly strong in arena and could even carry over into tournaments. But I think it definitely suffers against fast kind of eggshell teams where you can basically just decide which matchup you want to take, whether it's with the bird or whether it's the beast. And then often, as you said, people don't necessarily play it perfectly, but unless you're, well, a lot of the time you just have a very good matchup, like whether it's against an aqua, a bird, and even against faster Axies. Let's say you've got a Katara backline. I know RC uses them a lot. They generally, you can just drag out a game with something like Snail Shell, high defense, and then just perpetually gain energy with the Katara. It's very difficult for somebody to break through. So I definitely think we'll be seeing cards like the Katara or the Axie Kiss, Wall Gecko, Zero Cost plus Trump combos, anything like that will definitely continue to be popular, I think.
Yeah, I really like my backliner because I think I already talked about it with Indes, but my backline is basically Kotaro, Cactus, Snail Shell, Potato Leaf, 32 speed. And the trick about this Axie is if I am in a 1v1 versus a beast, I still have a shot because first of all, the Snail Shell, second of all, I can raise my defense so high that I can have higher defense than the Ronin attack, basically. So Ronin is 203 or 201 on a plant, if I remember correctly. And I can even raise it above that, and I can use the Kotaro as last move. So I can keep it going, basically. And if your beast is less than 50%, I can clutch it out with Cactus, basically. That's why my backliner works.
Yeah, no, your backliner I notice is super effective. I guess that can lead me into the next move that I want to talk about. It's Snail Shell. And I've been this is a move that I've been struggling with, and I don't know if it needs to be nerfed. Probably not, because it probably would just require...
It's already nerfed.
I know, it's already nerfed. But just the stun effect after, you know, it breaks the shield is so hard to play around sometimes, and it's so powerful. And I literally have to kind of forge my teams and make my teams to always be able to play around Snail Shell. I mean, is that something you guys think about? Or, I mean, what do you guys think about that move, Snail Shell?
Well, I love the move. I mean, I think season 2 through 5, I think I used triple Snail Shell, basically. I just like the move. It gives me a legit shot against beast teams. Just the fact that I can make you miss one move, and I can use Kotaro, so I can, you know, keep it going. It's just a very nice move. I have no problem with it whatsoever. Keep it. Yeah. Let's keep it that way.
I agree to an extent with RC. I think that it's definitely one of those moves where there's a lot of skill involved with it, especially with a build like RC's, where you can manipulate how many moves you want to take before the Snail Shell is impacted. So definitely adds in a lot of mind games. And on your point about building in teams with Snail Shell counters, I tend to not have to think about it unless I'm facing a lot of that in the arena. So one thing that I have done recently is I was running a reptile beast setup, like with a similar beast to one that Pratak was using, or one that you used to use, or you still use, with like a Rice plus 3 high damage moves. And I was finding that against front tanks that had Snail Shell, I was suffering a lot because I didn't have a zero cost catch. And I think it's generally for a beast, especially, normally you'd be seeing like Rimp Beasts, and against Snail Shells, Rimp Beasts can, unless they're on a backline like RC's, they can just cling through it, because you can go with the Ronin, you can imp to catch and then double nut or anything like that, and you just clear through it. But with a non-Rimp Beast, especially one that runs Rice and not a Cottontail, it's very difficult to get through that. So I ended up shifting to Hero, I think, on the back as a zero cost trigger for Rice, but also as a catch. And I think for a lot of people's teams, it's definitely something to almost be wary of, that against a lot of teams you may need to have a zero cost catch. I know that with aqua teams that I run, I always make sure to have the like the mid liner with Nemo as the zero cost catch and the energy game, but I always make sure that it's quicker than the back Axie that I run, so that I can trigger it with that Axie and then clear it with the zero cost either in that turn or later on. So I definitely think that it's a strong move, but I think the stats right now are enough to a point where it shouldn't be that much of a problem, and there's definitely enough things that can be done to counter them. And I don't think it's at a point yet where you have to be considering that in every single one of your teams.
Yeah, maybe it's just because I've been burnt by the move too many times to where I didn't have that, zero cost move to counter. And I just find it for myself a little bit more, I guess, at ease when I go into the arena, knowing that I will always have a solution for Snail Shell. And I don't do zero cost moves on everything. And I guess what I do is I make sure that my fastest Axie has a zero cost move, so that way if I have, say, like a beast or something that I'm using after it, that basically that I will be able to trigger that snail shell and then get rid of the stun on my fastest Axie, and I'm pretty much clear to go on my my other one.
Exactly, and it's definitely good to build it in with the speeds. I used to do that with an eggshell bird, because you could just use the single eggshell, trigger it, and then the Axies that are attacking in the follow later on. And normally you wouldn't want to do it if they'd be able to kill you, but if they couldn't, they'd then clear the stun after attacking into you. So there's definitely a lot of ways you can counter it, and I think speeds is the main one that you should be thinking about when you're building your teams, to always have the faster Axie with some way of being able to catch that stun that doesn't cost an energy or doesn't require you to have to play a lot of cards.
Yeah, for sure. And but yeah, I think Snail Shell definitely a very, very good move, and kind of cool to see both your guys' points there. Maybe it's just that I don't know, maybe I've been burnt by Snail Shell so many times where I'm just like, nerf it, please get rid of it, because it's literally something I think about when I create like each and every one of my teams. So
Well, I have the same thing with birds, right? I mean, I have a lot of jokes about it in the Axie Discord or so, in the Axie Discord, but I don't like when birds crit, basically. There's no reason why a bird has to crit more than a beast, or I'm even okay with that plants don't crit. I'm okay with it. I never count for the crit. I just play, without counting on the crit. But if birds crit, and especially in a 1v1 against my backliner and they win, I feel so humiliated. I don't know why, but it's just so annoying. How can a bird, especially with a zero, what Indes said, basically the weakness, quote unquote, of the snail shell is the zero energy move. So you can play around it with a very good bird. And there is, I think, one, is it Cybercom with that double zero energy?
Kaku and Trifeather, yeah.
Yeah, so he can play around it and be very effective. And if he crits, it's just over. I mean, he can go start with double Henry Bolt and just keep it going against attack 4+ and just unleash. And if he crit, it's just over. It's just not. I mean, they have to ban the crits on birds. That's where I'm coming from.
yeah, it's definitely telling that something might be a little bit too overpowered when you try to do like a hard counter and it just doesn't work. But I do think personally, birds are in a good place. However, I'll lead this into the next topic, which is crits. And we saw crits being kind of the deciding factor of the tournament, this past tournament. And so I would like to see crit being looked at again, and maybe it should scale differently. So basically, like if you are a 30 morale aqua or something like that, you should just not be able to crit at all. I mean, it should literally be like a 0.5% chance, and I think it should really scale very slowly up into that 60 morale range for beasts and potentially bugs as well. What do you guys think?
I saw. Sorry, you can go on. I see.
Well, I think that nothing is gonna change before V2, basically. I think the way I understand it is that they're closer than V2 than we think. So it doesn't make much sense to entirely recreating of updating the crit system for the next 2 months, for example. You know
That's a
what I
good
mean?
point. Yeah.
So I personally, and we know how they are with their time and how they spend their resources in general. So I think this time we are a bit unlucky, but Axie will survive regardless. So I think they also think about that, like you know, can nag about crits right now, but it's not gonna solve everything. We're gonna update the system in 2 months. So I don't think nothing's gonna change. I think.
Yeah, what I hope to see, or at least what I've seen suggested in the battle balancing chat, is that with V2 we may see crits rework to where the morale of an Axie determines the damage added to the crit. So let's say the higher the morale, the more like percentage is added to the crit. So right now we've
I
got
like that.
everything
I
is
like that.
doubled, but that would also mean that kind of like bird, as you've complained about bird crits, plant crits, aqua crits, any of the above, even reptiles sometimes, they just wouldn't be as game changing as they are right now. Because with beast crits, I know we saw an awful lot of them yesterday, but at the same time, beasts are supposed to be critting. I think it's just the times at which they crit, which is the most damaging for that. But definitely game changing cactus crits we've seen like in past tournaments where like a game is just completely shifted because in the 1v1 the cactus does like 300 damage at base against an even matchup when it's played on a plant Axie. So yeah.
So you're saying that you would prefer just a flat damage increase, or am I mistaking?
I'd like to see so let's say you take minimum morale an aqua, 30, what is it, 27 I think for a minimum morale. The damage added would be like a lower percentage. So let's say it crits, just to take a random number, it only does an extra like 25% damage to the thing. I think that's definitely excessive. Maybe 50% would make more sense, but I think it would mean that Axies that like base Axies like take an aqua. Aquas are already incredibly strong. Like they've got the speed and they've got the HP.
Mm-hmm.
So I think adding crits onto it and game changing crits where they still do double the damage, although it doesn't happen very often, it still can happen, and that can just ruin a whole tournament because we've seen best of threes, having one game swing where you lose to something like that can just bomb you out of the tournament. So I think definitely for the V2, I'd like to see some sort of change like that, or as you said, maybe they just don't crit under a certain morale.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say because there's a lot of balance issues that come with that, and I don't know. I just maybe beasts and bugs become too good with just a flat, like a damage increase or something, kind of like what you were saying, and maybe, yeah, I don't know. I just see a lot of balance implications with that, as far as like different types of moves on, like say aquas, for instance.
Yeah, what I think is we also have to take into account that there basically have been no real breeding. Let me just say that. So the real counters aren't even here. For example, if I could, I would breed a lot of snake jars. I still think it's a very good move, especially against beast when they only attack with 3 cards. Snake jar on a plant is very effective. So that can, counter it a little bit, but now it's just too much money to breed right now. Well, the way I breed at least. Usually do 4 breeds in one time on one Axie, and then basically 3 or 4 pairs. What's not gonna happen right now.
Yeah. So I mean, so can we all say that do we all agree that crit needs to be addressed in some way, at least, or I mean, what do you guys think?
Yeah, but in V2, most likely, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think it's anywhere near as much of an issue as it was before.
Yeah, I do think that recent change helped a little bit. However, we're seeing a lot more, beasts coming into the meta because of that, that change, that crit change, and I have seen it get a little out of hand sometimes. But then again, beasts do get really just wrecked by aquas and birds. I mean, it's just a lot. I mean, sometimes with like say risky fish, shoal star or whatever, it's just a 2-hit combo and they're done.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be an interesting balance decision that I think that they're going to have to look at, and potentially maybe they need a little bit more data. But I personally think, and especially after doing that 0.15 ETH challenge and seeing how some of my games swung because of just pure crits, I do think that it needs to be looked at and scaled a little bit differently.
So I do want to talk about low tier moves, and I actually want to show it on stream because I have made a team with End, one of my favorite moves, and I want to show it on stream that it can work, hopefully.
Okay. Do you want me to go ahead and are you gonna post it on Discord or?
Well,
I guess you could open up the screen share and you could, well, if it's possible, stream like the Discord.
well,
like
we can just play, right? We can do a match.
Oh yeah, we could do a match. Yeah,
That's easy.
I'll do one of my test teams too against you.
No problem.
And then I do think I have to add you as well. All right, I went ahead and added you as well.
Check.
I'm getting rid of some friends. Uh-oh, my friends list is being buggy again. I have flashbacks to Chiefs tournament.
Yeah, I have you here. See, and you sent you an invite. You have, whoa, I think you have a lot of. I think you have to delete all of those.
Yeah, I'm trying to. It's not letting me. I could try logging out and in, I guess, but it might mess up with my screen capture.
Well,
do you
play a match. I could play a match with Indes, and can you show that?
Yeah, I added Indes as a friend, so if it pops up for you, maybe you guys can try logging out and in. I added both of you guys. So yeah, maybe you guys can try that, and then maybe the friends request will pop up for you. Yeah, because of
I'll see a request. It says pending for me.
I sent you a request as well. Oh.
Oh, that may have screwed it.
Almost went to arena. Oops.
Okay, there we go.
Indes, yeah, I got you. Okay, we're good to go.
All right.
So, yeah, you guys aren't popped up. So you guys added me?
I'm declining now in this. Just wait.
Yeah.
If anything, I might have to just try and log out and in.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's pending on my side.
Okay, I'll try it. Hopefully it doesn't mess up with the screen capture. If not, if it does, I'll just use my display.
So what team are you gonna use in this? Wall Gecko?
Pick a number between 1 and 15.
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I don't think you'll like this team.
Let me check the leaderboard. Interesting. Well, you went down a bit in this.
Yeah, I've been trying to test out these aqua teams.
I think I'm gonna play tonight after the stream a little bit. Only played 3 matches today, so.
Fair enough. I guess I can snipe you and try and get back up.
Yeah, I might try and play too. That'd be funny. We should all just stream snipe each other.
I think clerk. Oh yeah. That's such a tongue twister. He has a very nice, well, I guess, Protap wannabe team. Yes, yes, I think Axie is one, right? And also, which one again? Indian Star backliner,
Yeah,
Sirius and Carrots.
backline is very interesting. It strikes me more as a tank or a midliner, but it's been working out for him. I've played against him a couple of times with Aquas, and it's just pretty much game over at that point.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Okay, I was able to add Indes, so
Nice.
let me get this
Okay,
screen capture back up, and I think we should be good to go.
Yes.
All right.
Cool. All right, yeah, whenever you guys are ready.
Screen
Good luck.
your stream screen is not back up.
It should be shortly.
Oh yeah. Okay, let's go. Interesting. Double cute bunny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is a little bit annoying. I have to time it basically. I have to time my. Okay, this is interesting. This is interesting.
So you're talking
gotta be
about moves on my tier list moves. On my tier list, I call these tier C with Ant, tier F, and you got a lot of tier B moves too. So
this is gonna be a problem, but we will see. This is gonna be a problem.
for those watching, so yeah, most of the moves that you're seeing RC run, he does have a lot of tier A moves here, but this Ant here, I have a tier F on the tier maker, and I can post that in the I can post that in the chat for you guys to see. But so I think he's just he's trying to prove that some abilities can be utilized, but we'll see. We'll see.
Well, this is a very bad matchup. I'm thinking right now.
All right, I'll let you think. I'll let you think.
This is gonna be painful.
Well, to be fair, you did pick it.
It's gonna be painful.
Promoting underused
parts.
parts.
And also, it doesn't help. This is unwinnable. This is
Yeah, on that point, what do you both think about watering can?
I like it, but not right now.
We were actually Indes and I we were talking about that a couple days ago. Maybe it was yesterday, but I actually think it's overpowered.
Overpowered?
Yeah, I'll pull up watering can after this. I think it's overpowered because it offers 90 defense, 60 attack, and you can potentially gain like for whatever how many energy if they use moves against you, and when you use that move on a plant, that 90 shield becomes super powerful. So you get 150 basically total base stats, and you have the upside of gaining an energy, which is basically like a card buy. It's like worth 1 energy by itself. Well, I don't know. What do you think?
Base stats.
Not today.
The base
Not
stats
today.
themselves are the highest, I think, of any back. I may be wrong on that, but I think only Bone Cell also has 150. And then on top of that, the ability itself is very impressive, I think. Like I've played against it often with Aqua setups, and if equipped with, if the rest of the team is played so that you can't queue off of the card, it's basically just game over. It's definitely, we've seen a lot with Prathap's teams that he benefits massively from having the I've forgotten the card name, with having the watering can on his tank, because it basically means that people can't run aqua heavy setups or aquas in general really against him, which just means that his teams don't necessarily have to address those moves.
Oh my god, I messed it up. Oh my god, I'm losing.
Oh dear. But yeah, so he doesn't have to play against them, or well, not play against them, but he doesn't have to really consider them when building his team because he pairs it with that beast, and because it's so high on damage and energy steals, he doesn't actually like people don't have enough time to queue off of the watering can. He can just attack relentlessly, and if they choose to try and wait for the watering can, he'll steal their energy, and then they'll kill their tank, and then it'll be onto the rest of the team.
Okay, I want a rematch. This is so dumb. I think I could have won. I think I messed up the turn before to kill your tank. I didn't expect you not to defend.
Yeah,
I didn't have any cards.
this is a tough match for URC because of this mid Axie here with the fish neck. Just counters so much of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I want a rematch. I want a rematch. This is horrible. Horrible. Horrible.
Why don't we play this out? I like this interaction here.
Yeah, the cute bunny. I know. I know. Even the Bidens don't work. I mean, it's just not fun.
I think this is part of the issue with Ant though, is so when you Ant,
Oh my god.
your moves that you use the Ant on don't like you can't move on to the next Axie if that makes sense. So once you Ant, you can only use Ant and then rely on your other Axies to attack into the to backdoor. So like you just did there, you went Ant and then you went 2 other moves and your 2 other moves hit into the Aqua. That's what I don't like about Ant.
You know, this was literally the best counter team for this team. I mean, Watron can tank and then Aqua with Fishneck in second place. Really? Come on. Literally every other team would have worked.
I
Yeah.
you pick it.
He said
Oh,
pick
that's true.
1 through 15.
Let's do 5.
Oh, dear.
Oh my god. Horrible.
5.
Horrible.
Okay.
Horrible. I still think it can work. I never lose confidence in the end. Never.
RC, do you think that Ant, should it be a 0 cost move?
Do you want me to answer it honestly?
I mean, yeah, I know you're a little bit biased, but I mean, what do you think? Would you think it would be fair as a 0 cost move, or do you think it's fine as it is? Like, what would you do to Ant?
Maybe higher damage, maybe? I don't know. I think 0 energy is just lots of things are gonna go wrong. Everybody's gonna use Ant and just bombard the second Axie, or use double Ant to get to the bird.
That'd be pretty cool. Double stench.
I used it.
It's pretty cool.
The issue with Ant currently is that not only does it need the card draw to get your setup, you also need the energy. But I think if you remove the energy aspect of it and made it 0 cost, as RC said, you could basically just spam Ants, and the opponent would have no idea where you're going to attack, and the game would just evolve into relentless offense. Like you'd either have to kill them before they got to use their Ant combo, or they'd Ant combo you because you wouldn't know when to defend. You probably wouldn't even need to defend your tank. It might just turn out everyone uses Sigmundur teams and runs bird tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. That is a good point. 0 cost with the effect that it would do is that's too good. I just don't know what you would do to make it work. Maybe if you could maybe do a little bit more damage, and if the stench effect worked on your next moves, like on the same Axie. So you could potentially go Ant, and say we use RC's middle Axie as an example. He could potentially go Ant, Angry Lamb, Swift Escape, and that the Lamb and the Swift Escape would attack the next Axie. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you mean, but then it almost seems like that would just be a glorified Winghorn with an extra ability on top of it, or a gerbil. So it's difficult. I feel like Ant's in the position where, for any changes that can be made to the card, either wouldn't really help it, like let's say you buff the base stats, made it more of an offensive move, then you're really taking away from the ability itself. Or you make it a 0-cost card and then everyone just spams ants. Or I don't even know, all you do is, as you just suggested, and I don't think that would help it either. I think that would just get us to a point where you would be able to just take ant as a backdoor itself, and then it would almost be like backdooring and eggshell post combo at that point, because you'd be able to start your backdoor and then end it with slower Axies. Because I guess that's kind of the whole selling point of ant, that you can start the backdoor on an earlier Axie and then end it with a later one, but you'd also be able to deal the damage on the same one.
Yeah, it's definitely in a tricky situation.
It's not gonna happen in this.
What's not gonna happen?
It's not gonna happen.
I think I'm fine. Well, my tank's dead, so maybe you can ant my beast. If you survive, that is. Which doesn't look too likely.
Nope. Not gonna happen.
Yeah, it needs a very good setup, and even I think you've uncoded me before in arena. You played against me and you uncoded my beast in like round 1 and killed it and won the game because of it. But I feel like that's very, very rare.
Who did, RC?
Yeah, I think it was last season.
Sounds like something RC would run. Was it like Unco on a plant, I think, right?
Yeah, I think he uncoded and then finished it off with some sort. It might have even crit. I can't remember if it was round 1. It might have been round 2, but effectively, yeah, it was go on a plant and then he had it on a slower plant as well, which had like thorny with some sort of combination of high damage moves. Yeah,
for you guys in the chat, if you didn't check out the,
I almost won. I almost won.
You can still win with the crit.
Yeah, but the Arco is horrible.
Yeah,
so
Arco's a bit broken right now.
So since you guys are in game, in F tier I have Ant, Silence Whisper, and Unco. Those are the only cards that I have in F tier.
I would agree with that.
Interesting. I almost won. Didn't think. I thought it was just a clean sweep.
Right.
Is there any other F tier cards that you guys think are just completely just not worth it, non-usable, basically?
Hang on, let me get Axie World up. I can't actually remember half the cards. What did you have in the tier slightly above?
Well, there's a lot of tier C cards, and that's kind of what I've been struggling with. Is you got these tier C cards, and a lot of them aren't necessarily bad. It's just they're not the best options compared to the other options that you would have otherwise. But I will let you know, like, so some debatable ones that I have in the tier C, like, so say for instance, Caterpillar, that's in tier C. Grass Snake is in tier C. So I would say Caterpillar is almost like a F tier scenario for me. I haven't noticed too much usability out of it. But Grass Snake, I almost want to put that in tier B. So the tier C is just very debatable.
Right. With Caterpillars, I've thought of using it before, but couldn't find the right Axie for it because I feel like it's definitely a bit on the weaker side. Like if its stats were buffed, I feel like if the damage was buffed a bit, you wouldn't be relying on the fear to actually gain you value in that scenario. Because at the moment, like the defense is good, the offense is meh, but the problem is that unless you get the fear and you get value out of the fear, it really is just second to a lot more damage dealing horns. So I could definitely see it potentially working, but I think it needs a buff, like maybe 100 damage, 50 defense, similar to other sort of conditional horns like your Scaly Spears, things like that have just solid base stats, but they also have that extra element of usability that can make them stand out.
Yeah, for sure.
But with Grass Snake, I'm not sure. I would use it as a 0-cost trigger for serious on a tank. but I don't really see it having much viability past that.
Yeah, I've seen it used a lot on finisher Axies as an enabler for, like, say, Chomp, like a tiny turtle type of move. It's a great enabler for that. I just think it's a very, very good zero cost move because basically you're paying 0 energy for a poison, and if you use that poison early on in the game, yeah, so it can be an enabler for something, and it also just a free poison. So I don't know. I think it's a strong card, but I haven't been convinced. I haven't seen it be kind of stand outish enough for it to be moved to tier B for me.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
How
Yeah.
high is Square Teeth?
What move is that?
Bug move. Square Teeth does double damage if you use the combo.
Oh, might bite.
Oh yeah, okay.
I actually, so I need to make that adjustment. I think it was a mistake on my part. So I have it in tier C, but I think I have it backwards, where I have Poupe in tier B, and I have Square Teeth in tier C. So I think I need to switch those. I think that was a mistake I made when I made the tier list.
I would keep PewPie in the B spot.
Really?
For me, the best combination you can ever have with a zero cost is to pair it with a tiny turtle. And might bite some mouth cards, so of course you can't pair it with a tiny turtle. And I think just based on they're very similar. Like PewPie is basically just a free 60 damage. Might bite, you have to combo it to get that damage. And just in terms of they're very similar in that sense, but just in terms of what can be comboed with it, I don't really see Might Bite going with anything like maybe a Ronin, but then you've got other cards that can be better with that. So I don't really see it working, doing its role as an enabler, as we've spoken about.
Did anyone ever use Poupe the right way? Like less than damage?
I tried to. I couldn't get it to work. I actually never got it to work. However, I do have some theory crafting that I have with Poupai on a midline Axie, and I think it could work. I just haven't figured it out.
I lost to a PewPie. Well, I drew to a PewPie getting the bonus in the last stand like yesterday. And I definitely think on a backline it's a very solid move. And I've seen it used on midliners as like a zero cost trigger for Sirius, and then of course just solid damage. And at one point in time I have used it on a backliner as well for that jump combo. But yeah, I think it's just one of those ones, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel as though it's kind of a rarer move. I haven't really seen it. Like, it's not really bred for, and it may just not have as many actives with it on. But I feel like that's the case for quite a lot of bug moves.
Okay, Z, you're up. I have a new Unco team, and I'm gonna make it work. I'm always hoping for this move. Sometimes I just try it in arena. Oh, even if I lose, I don't care.
Oh, this is a bad matchup for you. Sorry.
No, it doesn't. Don't worry. I can take it. I can take it. Interesting. This is gonna hurt a lot.
Oh, it's this thing that you bought on stream.
Let's see. What do we do here?
Gonna hurt a lot.
I've never used this team, by the way. This is a completely new team.
But that Peacemaker tourney is ruthless. Let me at least try one time.
Oh!
So we have that in the back. Bang! Let's go.
Nice.
We have it in the back. Let's go. Let's go.
Oh, you've got that back exit you've got there. I'll see. It's very annoying. The last one with any sort of is just annoying, and then lagging makes it even more annoying. Where have you got lagging, Z, on that tier list?
Say what?
Where have you got lagging on the tier list?
Oh, I moved that up, I think, to tier B.
Nice.
I'd put that as. Have you got an S tier? Because I'd put that in there.
In F tier, really?
S.
Oh, S tier. Really?
It's
Yeah.
very nice.
I've been using it with that cute bunny team,
I don't know.
and I'd also like to see it used as a zero cost trump combo. Because on a back Axie, let's say you've got like a decent, like above 36 speed back Axie, then you can double lagging a pure bird, and you'll be able to kill. You'll be able to be quicker than them in the following round, and that comboed with the chomp, which is already, I think, the best backliner combo. Like having a zero cost and a chomp would just make it like the perfect back Axie if paired with some decent shield and a damage move as well.
I wonder if this works. I think this counts as a debuff.
Peacemaker.
No, I think this counts as a
Strike
debuff.
Ooh, nice. It works.
And if does it stay as a debuff? Yes, it does. Okay.
Oh, this hurts a lot. To win the pumpkin. But it's alright. It's alright.
I have a feeling my Odin, he's freaking out. He's like, what the fuck? It was 400 damage in 2 moves. I have a feeling something bad's about to happen here, but it's okay. It's all right. I'm prepared.
Nah. Overreacting right now. Zero energy for you, man. We saw that coming from a mile away.
Stream snipe, calling it.
No. Saw that one from a mile away. You saw this coming.
Very nice, very nice. Oh, the Uncle crit.
Bye birdie. Oh, fuck. Let's go.
You got the card draw
Like that
too.
one.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're still in the game. We are still in the game. Come on. We can do this, Benji. Let's go. Let's go. We can do this. Give me the cards. Oh, let's go.
See, this isn't looking very good.
Yeah, well. We're about to get beat by Uncle, maybe.
Maybe. We still have
Can't
us.
lose on stream.
Oh, there we go, there we go. Give me that card draw.
So much lower now. So things are
Oh,
looking up.
speaking of, what do you both think about Cattail?
Cattail.
I like
Oh, man, I think a lot of stuff's overpowered. I'm just kind of thinking to myself, it's overpowered, but I do think it's overpowered.
Yeah, I've been using it for a couple of seasons now, and it's very strong. And I mean, I tend to like to manage my cards properly, so a lot of the time it's kind of just a bonus. But I've seen players play, and they almost rely on Cattail.
My
Cattail
God.
draw. It works out
That's
for them.
crit.
Jesus Christ! Just saw
Oh
that
my-
crit.
Oh my god, nasty.
That was nasty.
So you have the Arco and the Spikey Wing, so that's a problem. You have the tiny dino on a reptile and a cute bunny. So big
It's a pretty
problems.
easy back Axie. Oh, see, if you worked out what the bonus that Spike Giving actually does, is it 20% or is it 100?
So,
So right now I'm count. Let's see the defense 50, 40. This 50 times. Okay, I'm gonna guess it. Yeah, double Arco. I thought so. So yeah, this is not gonna work. That's not gonna work. Not working. The Arco is a problem.
yeah, Arco is one of those where it's really, really good.
Counters my tactic. I think I would have won without Arco.
You might still be able to win.
Difficult. You only need one crit. Can generate this.
Yeah, I can link you the math. DeBoz and I did the math on it. I think about a week ago. So I forget exactly how it worked out. Let's see what happens. Oh, and the crit.
My God, come on. I had the legging. I had legging on
Oh,
it.
you would
And I
outspeed
only used
me.
2 energy. I only used 2 energy.
Well, that was a lot closer than it
Come
should have
on.
been.
Why? Why? The end. Well, I was close. I was close. Someday. Someday. Someday it will work.
But Indes, I think with the spiky wing, what was happening. So normally, I'll use this as an example. So I was using double nutcracker. The animation is definitely bugged, so it still shows 173 damage like on a plant for like a double nutcracker. But when you're attacking into shield, that 173 turns more like into 214, like 218 around there. So it's a decent buff, but it's not anything super significant, and it only persists while they have shield up. So the damage bonus is only, obviously while they have shield. I'll go ahead and link you the math that I was doing with the boss.
All right, cheers. See, I remember you using it against me in that tournament final, and it felt as though it just melted my shield. I thought it did double at that point because the shield was, I think I had like a 200 plus shield, and you spiky wing tiny dynamite and it was just all gone.
No, I did double spiky wing, and I wasn't sure if.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure if it stacked, and I think it will. I think the debuff does stack, but it doesn't show like a ×2 on there. And I think that's why I did so much damage.
Yeah, I was very confused because I looked away and the shield was just gone.
Yeah, spiky wing here.
So who's next? I'm still have confidence in this one somehow. I adjusted it a small bit. It's just very, very hard. It's just very hard. Maybe I go double Unco.
Just double down on the Unco.
Yeah, why not? I'm not afraid.
So I guess we can talk about this topic in the meantime, but so with these kind of so-called tier C moves, tier B moves, I mean, we're seeing a lot of these moves gain ground in arena and in tournaments sometimes, and I'll use a couple examples here. So some tier C moves that I have here are Koi. I have as tier C, and we've been seeing that used quite a bit in the ladder to outspeed birds quite consistently. And it's kind of the one I wanted to bring up because Indes is really a big fan of Koi, I think. Is that correct?
Yep. Well, I was until I realized that maths was slightly wrong on it, but yeah, I think it's a very, very solid card. And definitely the condition to, it's very easy to trigger the condition, to compare it with another aqua move. On most aqua builds that you see with Koi, they'll have at least 2 other aqua moves. So it's definitely one that's easy to trigger. As long as you just manage your cards correctly, it's basically just a free 1v1 against a bird at the end. Because a bird's not, unless they've got 4 energy, and even that, unless they've got 4 energy going into the 1v1, you're going to survive the first turn, Koi up, then you're quicker than them and you finish them off.
Yeah, the issue I've had with Koi is if you're going to use Koi, why not just use Goldfish instead?
For me, Goldfish, I dislike Goldfish because the trigger is based off of the opponent. So there's oftentimes you'll have situations where the opponent will be smart and they won't trigger the Goldfish, and then you're just stuffed. But with Koi, you decide when you're going to go in to get the speed gain, and because Goldfish is it's one that in higher levels of play you're not really going to see somebody make a mistake and trigger a Goldfish and lose the game. But with Koi, it's out of their hands at that point. And especially with Koi, you can kind of kill a mid Axie and then go into the 1v1 with quicker speed. But with Goldfish, you can't really do that reliably if you have 2 Axies up. like I'm assuming that it's on the back Axie here because that's where I tend to use the koi. But I definitely like Goldfish, and I think it's a very strong back. But in terms of speed manipulation, for an accurate at least, koi is definitely my go-to. But Goldfish,
Sorry, guys.
for me, is more viable on other axes like plants and reptiles. As a backliner, Goldfish is very strong.
Yeah, it's one of those debatable ones where it's almost like it's in between tier B and tier C, and it's definitely when it works out for you with the koi, it seems like a tier A card where it just can clutch out a game. But a lot of times, you almost would wish for a little bit more damage in certain parts of the game. So sometimes I feel like it's just kind of a card you're waiting to use in some scenarios. It's very situational.
I want to show you guys my triple aqua team. The one I showed you in the chat.
Yeah,
okay.
On koi, I feel like the stats are good enough to where you can justify using it just for damage. Of course, it's less than other aqua moves that tend to be 120.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's at a point where it's like, take Ranchu, for example. I use Ranchu on a Winghorn Aqua, and the 110 damage, of course it's only 5 less, but it's definitely, I see the difference. Like, it's very, very kind of just underwhelming unless you're getting the maximum value out of the ability. It does seem underwhelming. It's the same really for Arco for me, because right now it doesn't work as intended, but I feel like it should stay as it is, but just add a condition for the speed gain, maybe like Koi, where convert with another beast card and you get speed. And I feel like for Arco, it's one of those moves that I've built into a team where I've accounted for the lower damage and also the possibility of having to hold it for a 1v1. So I've made sure that the team's got other damage to compensate for that. But I feel like with Koi on an Aqua, at least, that's almost a given, because a lot of the Koi Aquas is just very high damage. So you almost don't really see the drawbacks of that. But on any sort of other build, I could definitely see Koi being lackluster.
Yeah, and I think that was probably my issue with it, is I don't think I was running the right build with it. And yeah, you definitely need to compensate with a certain type of Axie to help support it either on damage or to, kind of bide you some time or some energy, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why it's just an inherent difficulty when you're trying to rate moves, is that I'll always have in mind, okay, but if I compare it with this move, it's going to be top quality, but on its own, it may be poor, and I may be able to compensate for it throughout the team, but on its own, just on like a base Axie, let's say it's a newer player, he's just buying his first team, and you have Koi in tier A, let's say, which is where I'd probably place it, like just based off of the potential of the move. It's probably going to let them down in lots of situations. When it's not on the right Axie, it's just going to be awful. But I guess we can say the same for quite a lot of moves. But I feel like something that's going to be an S tier is just going to be an inherently strong card that if you have it on at least the right base class, it's going to be a strong move. Like, let's say Carrot or something like that. It's always going to be strong on a tank, even if the rest of the moves are lackluster. It's going to be strong.
Right, and that's kind of what I do when I make my tier list. Is I look at relevancies. All right, how relevant is this card in the current meta? Also, how relevant is it to other Axies that like, say for instance, like Carrot's a great example. Carrot is not only probably one of the best tank tails, but it's also very, very good when on other non-tank types of Axies in certain situations. So.
Yep, exactly.
All right, RC, ready to play you.
Yeah, okay. I just realized that I have a Goldfish Koi Axie with Teal Shell and Zigzag, so not bad.
Not bad yet.
What speed is it?
52.
Oh, it's the perfect speed, because I thought 51 was the perfect speed, but it turns out to be 52, where if you use one Koi, you're going to be quicker than a bird, because with 51, it's rounded down, so you're on par with a bird, which is annoying, because I bought an Axie just for that exact role, to only have to use one.
So we have here Bird versus Aqua. And the annoying thing is 0 energy. So he basically can use double Trump, 2 heroes, 2 balloons.
I'm so dirty for doing this. I'm sorry.
That's a problem. So what I'm gonna do is use Bumpy and see how much it works, because each turn I get 20 defense back. So maybe I survive. Let's see. Let's see. Maybe I'll survive this. 20. Okay.
That'd have been funny if I did nothing.
Well, that's the risk. That's the risk. Oh,
Survives.
not bad.
Let's see how much damage you do to the tank.
Not bad.
That's not bad at all, actually.
Not bad. I'm surprised. I am surprised.
Let's do this. And
Oh, my tank is gonna die. That's for sure.
But yeah, this is something. This is like a team that kind of leads into an example that I wanted to talk about. Oh, no last stand. I wanted last stand for my balloon. But kind of the team I just made, and it's been kind of a big controversy almost, is kind of teams that you can use that don't require that much skill, where you just basically press your damage buttons and hope to win.
I think
Sick
RC has his name for that.
I don't think Sigmundur and me are becoming best friends. I don't think he likes me.
You have slandered him relentlessly since he got into the game. To be
Well,
fair,
to be fair, I do it with everybody. It's nothing personal.
that's true.
I mean, I just joke around. Nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing
I
malicious.
just thought it's hard to see that though. To be fair.
So, this is a problem.
But yeah, I definitely feel like the team that you built, Z, it wouldn't be like I don't mind Double Bird, but what I do mind is I last one plus. I mean, you've got Balloon here, but Tri-Feather's even worse because Tri-Feather, the debuff's cleared on the first hit, and then the second hit just hits for full damage, which on top of the combo already being strong
Jesus.
because of last one is just very painful.
No crit? Thank you. It's gonna hurt like hell.
No.
I need that balloon gone.
It all comes down to this draw.
Yep.
Yeah, I just don't find these types of teams that engaging for me to play. They can be very powerful, but I wonder if this is something that Trung is trying to fix in the new version, is maybe trying to make the game a little bit more skill intensive, where even if you do have teams like this, you still have a skill factor that, you know, I don't know. Do you guys know what I'm trying to get at?
Yep.
Yeah, but
The crit, really?
what I got from the balance check, well, not the balance checks, but like the patch notes that they brought out, is that they almost want to encourage this kind of gameplay, the aggressive style gameplay. I guess that was the one that the article that I'm quoting. It was from a time where I think it was the tournaments that Nate won, like after the first, or the Axie GG tournament.
Bog Echo
The one,
ones?
the Scaly Spoon Gravelant one.
Oh
where he
yeah,
was playing incredibly passive, and they said that they wanted to encourage a more aggressive and almost engaging game. And I feel like it's gone the complete opposite way since then. Like you saw yesterday with Prathap, where he would, of course, there was more to it, but effectively it was just playing massive, like offensive combos, just not spamming, of course, but like playing very aggressively throughout the game, generally not having any energy left, but just playing it with high energy steal and then keeping the opponent low as well, but you're the one dealing damage. And I feel like that style of gameplay is not only popular but also very effective, as we saw yesterday. Like add in some crits, maybe some very strong cards, and then you're basically set.
yeah. Oh, go ahead, RC.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna use my goldfish koi combo in the arena someday. It is interesting. It doesn't matter what happens, I always go first. Koi or goldfish, and if I can attack,
Yeah,
on
what's
my
speed?
Q shell is 52.
So yeah, you would go first,
Perfect
right?
speed.
So
Yeah.
I could think. I never used it in arena. I think.
What is the other
You
two moves
haven't.
though?
I thought you'd like to use that. That's a bird killer.
Well, I use plants
Oh.
for that.
Boring. Use your double Axie.
Well, it does seem more. Well, I was thinking. I think a couple of days ago, the speed trick basically. If you have a little owl bird, your opponent has a little owl bird, right? And you have an aquatic. So, for example, my aquatic was 52 speed, and you have an aquatic slightly higher speed, 53, 54, doesn't matter. First turn, you do nothing, right? And the second turn, potentially the bird of your opponent can go backdoor, right? But if you do the turn before koi, double koi, just to trick him, is that possible?
Yeah, I've done that before in arena.
But
Of
is it
course, not
viable?
in the exact same situation, but yeah, it was a situation where I didn't have any cards on like the back Axie that I used the koi on. I didn't have any cards left, and so I did that. I did the koi and I drew the offense to the back Axie. I think it died, but yeah, that was the whole intention because I had cards on the midliner, but I didn't necessarily. It was suboptimal to use them. So yeah, it's definitely something that can be done. And I think just kayakers in general, it's good to hide them from the back door because then the opponent really hasn't got any way of killing it if you have the setup for the 1v1.
Yeah, Brendan, he's saying that he thinks speed right now is the most overpowered element in the game.
Well, there's lagging now, which is a very good move. I think the
Yeah.
upgrade from lagging has been a revelation for me at least. Just
Right.
to slow the beast or bird. Well, not perfect birds, but these slightly slower birds. I can do
Yeah.
double lagging and still, do some damage.
I guess I don't know. I may be interpreting it wrong, but I assume he means in comparison to the other kind of base stats, that speed's definitely the strongest element of those, like compared to the health, morale, skill, or he might just mean just generally.
I would imagine so. Yeah, he said, yeah, exactly. Kind of the way you explained it.
Yeah, so I'd agree with that. I still think skill, hopefully in V2 will be reworked because right now that's the reason why things like bugs suffer because the base stats is of course tweaked to have all of those four elements in mind. But when one is more stronger than, well, speed is a lot stronger than the others, but then skill is just completely useless. It shows up like Aquas right now. I feel like they're the most well-rounded because of the health and the speed elements. But I don't know. It's, as RC said, they've definitely put things in to counter it. I had an issue before. I still do have the issue with birds where with the last one, try feather combo. Even if you've got things in place to counter them, they still get their value throughout the game. Like of course you can still beat the bird in the 1v1, but equip a bird with eggshell, last one, and tri feather, then you still get all your damage throughout the game, and then you can still sacrifice it for the better 1v1. So to me, there just isn't too many downsides to running a team like that, and of course with speed being being very important to that build.
Yeah, speed is definitely something you have to think about every time you create a team. And you have to think, okay, if I'm not going to have the speed advantage, how can I either manipulate speed or how does my certain Axie play into something that is going to be faster than me? And so I agree with Brendan there. It's maybe the most impactful factor when you're looking at not only just one, like you're just in one in particular game, but also when you're making your team.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you
So
either have to go, as RC was saying, like lagging, incisor. I use Arco on a couple of my teams as well. You have to have that in mind when kind of building a team, or you have to go the complete other way and just have an Axie that shuts down Aquas and birds. So whether that be a reptile or a back plant, something like that, which is why I think we've seen the popularity of that rise. But then it's the same old issue with bird beasts. You can get around that. Like if you've got high damage on the beast, you can just sacrifice the bird, and as long as you have ample energy gain throughout the team, you're pretty much set up. And that's why I used to use a lot of the bird beast, because you could basically dictate the flow of the game because of the speed and the fast eggshell. And I think that's only reinforced by, I'll say it again, the last one, Tri-Feather combo, and then also right now how strong, fast, and aggressive just paced steals are. Like how your Rice. I still think Rice is just an incredibly strong move, and I'm not saying that to be biased because I use Rice as well. I just feel like there's not really too much of a downside. Of course, you don't want to use Rice when you're not getting the steal, but the high damage, unlike Sirius, just really it's like a medium risk as opposed to Sirius, which is like if you're not going to get the steal, the base stats really aren't that great. So you can use the shield, but the damage is just non-existent really.
Yeah, there's a lot of upside to Rice, and it's kind of actually a separate video I want to do on energy steal in general. But when you control energy in the game, you basically control the pace of the game, and a lot of times it just comes down to, when you're controlling energy, it comes down to the decisions that you make rather than the decisions that your opponent makes, and you can prevent them from doing a lot of different things. Say, for instance, RCtech came up with the Supremo Unco team, and if I played Energy Steal, I could prevent basically any Unco shenanigans.
Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely something that I have in mind whenever I build my arena setups. Like, I think 4 of the 6 have 2 sources of energy steal, just because that gives you an extra element that can almost just nullify the kind of impact of like crits or bad card draws, anything like that. But if you have the energy manipulation, as you said, you can just control the pace of the game, and really it then comes down to the outplay potential of it. Like, I don't like spamming the steals. I prefer to use them when I know they're going to have the most impact, and I think that's really where they see the most benefit, is when you not necessarily hold them, but just use them when you know the opponent needs energy or they need to set up a certain play, and then you force them to make a decision which you can then counter. I think that's really what the strength of it is that knowing you have energy steals, you can anticipate how the opponent will react to it, or at least after the first couple of rounds, you can get a read on how they will react. Like, some people just go, they just spam to avoid being stolen from, others go incredibly passive, and some people seem to just disregard it entirely, and that's where you really need to keep the steals to punish them when it's most effective.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys look at my stream, I'm kind of waiting for Incisor to work, but this is the team that I plan on using once Incisor works.
It was fixed last season, and then they broke it again.
Oh.
Yeah. But, oh, jeez. 4... do you think that's excessive?
Well, that's what I want to test out. I want to make sure Incisor is working, because my kind of theory here is, if I can control energy and get energy to the point where I can at least get into a doable, even 1v2 scenario, I can outspeed either way in any situation and control energy. So I think at the very
the reptile. The speed of the reptile.
41. So I would have to go double. The beast is 40. So I prevent backdoor too.
Nice.
Yeah, I have a very... Last season I used a very similar build, but with 2 energy steals and then a back Axie with Chomp. I've got lots of variations. I feel like that's just a very strong combo, and then the energy still just adds to it, because then you can really control it, because you can dictate whether you go with the high damage or whether you just try and force the 1v1 with the reptile, because as long as you're not up against the beast, and even then you're equipped there with the incisors, so if you keep their energy low, then you can incisor and then finish them off in the following round. So I definitely think that's a really strong back Axie.
Yeah, it could work, but there are some situations where you get really punished for using too much energy steal. So you have to utilize you have to use it correctly. I can't just spam Sirius and hope to win. So I have to kind of pick my lanes depending on the team I'm playing against. And I could do something like this, where I go Sirius Yam and just essentially spam energy steal, and I have that Yam to follow off on, expecting to get it attacked either way.
Yeah, I have a very similar build to that. I think I just sent a screenshot in the chat where I have Gila on the back Axie, so the poison not only adds to the serious kind of like the energy steal poison, like we know that's been a very strong combo for ages, but then of course the Gila as well on the back, the poison trigger, Gila can be very strong in the 1v1. So I think yeah, you're exactly right with that. I prefer that other tank. I like the card draw of it, but for me, I'd probably switch out the Goda on the beast. Like if you have a beast that has either like maybe even a Carpentail Goda or a Rice and then just high damage moves, I think that would almost suit the build better because then you wouldn't be so heavy on the energy steals and you'd have more damage because of course you already have a lot of damage, but then you'd have even more damage to be able to punish if people were just spamming.
Yeah, and the reason why I like Gouda here is a lot of times what you'll run into is you'll run into better tanks that where you
Exactly.
where you
Yeah, I
can't
know what you mean.
yeah, where you can't steal energy last, and that's a huge and important factor. And that's why I like the Gouda is because in those situations I would just prefer to destroy the energy rather than to steal it because it's just very likely going to get stolen back.
Yeah, that's definitely an interaction that I've encountered where you can almost it works with watering can and things like that where you can trigger it and then steal it later on. But like as you said, if you steal earlier in the round and they just steal after, it's just awful. So yeah, maybe even just go to like without the rice, do you think? Like maybe a go to build that
What's
doesn't
kind of
have
yeah, that's the theory I want to test here is can you have too much energy steal? Because basically this is a very balanced team. I mean, it's I can't get backdoored really. Strong finisher, good damage moves, but I have energy steal on every single Axie. So that's kind of the theory I want to test is can you have too much energy steal and does it punish you so much to where it's not doable? Because energy steal by itself is just it's probably one of the most powerful kind of moves that you can have in the game.
yeah, I definitely think with that sort of concept, like I think energy steals, then speed manipulation, those sort of things, energy steals definitely on the top of those. But yeah, for me, I found that the best spot is normally two, but then you've always run three. It seems like you've always had Sirius on the tank and then the Rice Goda,
Mm-hmm.
and that seems to work very well as well because the Goda, as you said, it just takes away that ability for the opponent to steal it back, and also not having to be combo dependent can have like definitely have its bonuses. Like especially when you're not running a zero cost with Rise, there are like situations where you only want to or only are able to spend one energy to get that energy destroyer steal.
Yeah. Okay, so with that being said, I want to really quick before we end, I just want to do a little ladder review and we'll go through let's just do top 10 and we can do maybe some people that are pushing up that we suspect are going to do very well. But I kind of want to just do a ladder review and see what everyone's running and what you guys kind of think about that. So we'll start off with Clerk really quick. And actually, I don't even know what he's running, to be honest with you.
He's been balling.
He's got two or three teams that he's like.
Oh wow, yeah. So his last use here is this. It's like
one.
yes, Sirius Cactus. Yep, and then he's got this beast with the rice and the Axie Kiss, and then the Wall Gecko Moon finisher. Is this his finisher? Oh no, he's using the plant as his finisher, right? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, so with this team, I've played against it a couple of times. I think it would be a strong team without Gecko being this strong, but Gecko just really reinforces the build because you can't actually kill the tank with a certain amount of energy. Like you need 5 energy really, unless you're using a high damage beast to get through it. And then the difficulty there is that he's got it with triple steals. So if you don't finish him off, like if you want to avoid the steals, you attack into him, but then he just heals back up with the moon, or you wait, he steals from you, he kills your tank round 1, round 2, and then he just gets you into a very difficult situation. And so this team, it's like your regular plant, your like beast reptile, except like the beast backline kind of build. but the beast is covered from the back door by the dusk instead of the back axis. So that's easy.
Very smart. Yeah. What do you think, RC?
I think it's an awesome team. I think it's a Protep wannabe team. But still, the Indian Star is stronger than I thought initially. Especially if you use Beast, and they haven't got low, or they haven't have high HP, and they are 50% HP, and you're trying to survive, and somebody uses Indian Star, maybe even double Indian Star, you're getting wrecked by that move. So it's definitely something you don't realize the first time, but the second time you're not afraid of it, but you're very reluctant to attack it just once or twice. Even with backdoor, I'm trying to save HP for the later game, so I won't backdoor it, first turn.
Yeah, people don't realize how powerful Indian Star actually is. Well, the amount of defense that it gives, it's 130 defense. So I think that's the most defense on one.
That's right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Indian Star.
Oh, sorry. Red ear.
That's the plant. That's the Indian Star.
Well, to my point, red ear I think is very, very powerful. That's what I was meaning to say. Red ear is a very powerful tank card where it provides a whole bunch of shield, and a lot of people don't realize how much shield it actually provides.
Right? Yeah, it's got the highest shield. I think it's a solid one, but I tend to not use it because it doesn't have any value past that. I definitely prefer Pumpkin. Like Pumpkin's my favorite, and then Watering Can as well is just very impressive at the moment. So I can see that having a lot of value.
I think Red Ear has one very good function, is that you basically have to use 2 energy if you want to kill the tank of basically 0 energy move. But if you use only 1 and you use Red Ear, it survives usually. So I like that function of it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's one of those moves similar to Pumpkin where you're using it to force your opponent to invest, 2 energy into getting a kill, or if you're expecting just to get a flurry of damage, coming to you, that you're just going to try to protect yourself to live for another round. Okay, so did you have something to say on that, Indes?
No.
Okay.
I agree.
So next up we got Brendan. He's sitting at number 2 here. He's running his patented triple Aqua team. What do you guys think about this team? I've had a chance to play against it quite a bit, but what do you guys think about it?
Feels really, really strong, and I say that on the perspective of even my counter team struggles sometimes with it, and I use double Watering Can. So he uses Risky Beast, Shoalstar, right?
Risky Fish, yeah.
Risky Fish, Shoalstar. That is a very, very strong combo. Well, he plays very clever in the sense that if I use Watering Can, he sometimes stops attacking and then doubles it down the next turn. So, but still, it feels sometimes a little bit OP. It usually comes down in a 1v1 versus him, and then I usually can clutch it out with Cactus and double Watering Can for the defense. It feels really strong.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I used a lot of Risky Fish a couple of seasons back when I was running a double Aqua team in Arena, and it's such a strong move. And then the base stats as well are just on par with every other solid Aqua move. So I feel like there's no drawback to the card, and I'd like to see like a small nerf to it, like maybe 110 damage, just to almost give some sort of drawback to it. Because right now, if you compare it to other mouths like Geisha, Piranha, they have the extra 10 damage on it, but when you get the extra 20% and cover against the weakness for Aquas, it's just incredibly strong. And it can even work on other builds. Like Nate always used to build Risky Fish into his teams, especially like the Scaly Spoon Gravelant ones, because it would just make up for that lack of damage. So I definitely think that Risky Fish should take a bit of a nerf. And just generally with Brendan's team, I'd still like to see him swap in a different tank, because I think against the right setup, having a proper tank will actually give him, well, I say proper, having a conventional tank will give him more of a chance to be able to outplay them. So as RC said, he sometimes tries to queue off of the watering can, but that can be difficult if his tank dies and then you're straight onto his aquas. So I think
Hmm.
if he had a plant tank which he was able to play with the tank cards for the first 2, maybe even 3 rounds, and then not have to attack and keep the tank alive, cycle through with the energy cards, because he's got a lot. He's got an energy game with the Nemo, so that's already enough. Maybe like this sort of tank that I use is a tiny turtle energy tank, and I think that's definitely a good sort of fit for this style of team because I'm able to keep it alive, use the tank cards, get value out of the tank cards, and then come in with the massive offense because then it gives more layers to the team than just blitz round 1 or blitz round 2. You can then go to round 3, maybe even sometimes round 4, depending on the team, just because you have that plant tank that adds a bit of stability to it.
Yeah, those are some good points there. I definitely agree with you on these two damage dealing aquas. They're very, very powerful, and then risky fish makes it possible for them to battle, these reptiles and these plants, just because how powerful that combination can be with, like, say, for instance, like a risky fish, shoal star type of combo. With his tank, I do have an argument against Indes. However, I tend to agree with you more that if he had a traditional tank, I think he would see even more success. However, I have seen the power of this, quote unquote tank, where he's used the Cottontail or the pincer like first round, and he's getting a lot of value for zero cost, energy, gaining 1 energy off of that Cottontail, discarding cards. I've even seen him get discards or draw on the hero card. And most of the time, if I'm not running like a bird or, like a very, very strong finisher Axie, like a plant with high damage, I'm investing 4 energy into killing his tank either way. So there is a lot of upside with the tank, and a lot of times the tank does its job the way it's supposed to, and he just ends up snowballing with his 2 damage aquas. But yeah, I guess it's just kind of a small counter argument against that is he does get a ton of value by going first in a lot of situations and being able to get off that Cottontail.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. He does get the value out of it, but one thing that I've seen after playing a lot of matches against him is that some games you can win even with an awful matchup just because the tank, because of the zero cost, he cycles through the cards a lot, and in mid to late game he can find himself without any cards and just a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And the tank also being able to take it out early or even leaving it alive with low energy or with low HP, and then him not being able to redraw the damage can limit his options. So I don't know, I guess I would have to play the tank to really understand it, but from an objective view I definitely prefer to have like a plant tank.
Yeah, well, he's doing this. He's rolling with it. He's got the 45 ability score on his tank, and he's sitting at number 2. So power to Brendan there for making it work. Let's see. Next up, we got Crypto Joe. He's running more of a conventional type of team, and we'll try to just, for the sake of time, we'll try to just kind of power through these. But he's running the. I lost him a couple times, I think. He's running the Beast, so this kind of Ronin, damage dealing beast with Cottontail, and then he's got this super good backdoor aqua with the shrimp and the shoal star with goldfish, and then kind of just a traditional tank here. What are you guys' thoughts on this team?
I think the aqua is definitely one of the best Axies in the game right now. It can even backdoor a tank if I don't defend. That's the problem with it. And I used it in the middle, right? Usually, I think. Yeah. So if he used back, I basically am always doubting myself. Should I defend my tank with at least 1 potato leaf? Yes or no? So, but I want to have as much HP as possible because he also has a beast. So I'm basically think the whole time, when is he triggering the backdoor? And usually I use my Kotaro and not my Sirius or Coda, so he can save energy, and that's the problem a little bit when I play him. I think when I'm countering it correctly, I can survive because that beast, it doesn't have Coda, so I can save only a standard tank. So you never know. By the way, does anyone trigger Piranha the correct way on a
No,
consistent basis?
Nope.
I don't think it's consistent. I haven't actually seen it work.
I've only
Okay.
triggered it
Oh,
ever one
It
time.
works. It
No,
works.
I don't
did it
mean,
a couple
I'm not
times.
saying that it's bugged. I mean that I don't think, I haven't seen it actually get value the
Well, I
way
think
it's supposed to.
maybe because he uses shrimp, it can work. If you attack him and he backdoored you only with 2 or 3 cards and you survive, then it can work. Especially with the goldfish. Maybe specifically this Axie, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. That is one of the best, if not the best aqua in the game. It's just incredibly well rounded. And another point with his team is that just the whole team is well rounded. Like it's an incredibly well balanced team. And I think the only thing that I would do to improve it is just have that second energy destroy option. Like maybe a Goda. I don't think a Rice would suit it, but I think definitely a Goda would just make that team even better. And one thing that I would say about it is that the watering can on the tank again just means that you can't, like, a team like Brendan's team. I'm not sure how Brendan fares against it, but if the watering can wasn't as strong as it is right now, or if if it wasn't as strong as it is right now, he would have more of a chance against it. But I think that definitely if he had that second energy destroy or steal option, he'd then be left in the scenario as you are against Prathap, where you've got the double energy manipulation, so you can't afford the luxury of waiting and queuing off of the watering can and allowing them to waste it because of the amount of energy steal that is possible. But with Crypto Joe, he doesn't have the energy steal option, but he plays his watering can very smart. Like he holds it correctly. Like he knows he plays the level 3 play is what I'd call it. So the level 1 would be you attacking his tank. Level 2 is him countering that by playing the watering can. No, sorry. Level 1 is him countering the attack with the watering can. Level 2 is you waiting and not attacking into it, clearing off of it. And then level 3 is him also waiting in knowing that you will try and wait and outwait his watering can. And he does that really well. Or whenever I've played against him, he does that very well, where he just holds it and then he gets you into a spot where you're then exposed to his backdoor. He may backdoor you, or his beast may have got enough cards at that point just to go straight through and kill you. So I definitely think this style of setup, just beast aqua in general, and then the backdoor just really brings it all together. Like, this is definitely my favorite team in the top 10.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. This is a dangerous team, and the shrimp aqua here, the shrimp damage dealer, is one of the most versatile Axies, I think, in the top 10. And the only thing that I think I would change about his team is maybe move the beast in the middle and put the aqua in the back. I like that setup a little bit more. I do think these beasts are very... I don't think they're strong finisher Axies when they get in that 1v1 scenario, and his aqua is good enough to where he could use the goldfish to gain speed advantage against birds either way. So I think that's what I would do. It's the only change I would make.
Right. Well, on that point, I would disagree with that because I feel like the beast at the back allows you to have a consistently good matchup against reptiles and plants. But also, I think the reason why you put it at the back is to avoid birds. But with the shrimp, you then have that ability to kill, or basically to decide what sort of matchup you want. In the 1v1. It's the same really with the eggshell, where you can sacrifice the bird, but in this case you can backdoor, and you can change your whole game plan to kill backdoor first, to then have the second Axie as the one that you want to take to the 1v1 with the beast.
Yeah,
so I definitely agree with you, where I think if that beast, I run a beast that has Arco on, and that can, if you set it up properly, it can beat a bird in a 1v1. And I think if that beast had Arco, or maybe it had lagging, something like that gave it a chance to, like let's say in the worst possible scenario, his aqua's backdoored before he can backdoor a bird, it then gives him a chance in that 1v1.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective, and I think I'm probably a little bit biased because I do run a bird as my kind of finisher in the back there, And I always think to myself, man, if this, because I have played Crypto Joe quite a bit, and I always think to myself, man, if this Aqua was in the back, I'd be screwed. So I think that maybe I'm a little bit more biased into thinking that because of the team I run. Okay, so
and I think
go ahead.
Sorry, just to finish off, I think with the reason why that may work so well for you is that you have heavy energy steal, so he can't necessarily gain enough energy to backdoor your bird, unless it's like round 1 and he goes in and he just kills it straight away. He's always got to be using energy to keep his tank alive, or having his energy stolen, so he can't necessarily set up that backdoor, which may be what he runs into when he plays against you.
Yeah, no, that is for sure. That's a good analysis. All right, next up, we got the one and only Indes sitting here at number 4. And you don't have to share too many, you don't got to give us too many leaks on your team, but what has been your overall thoughts on your team? You know, maybe some strong points and maybe a few weak points.
This is at the top one here, the most used one.
Okay, yeah, most used, yeah, the most used one with the Gouda, the Arco, and double risky. I forget what this is called, risky shot or whatever it is.
Risky beast and risky fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this team, I built after playing against Crypto Joe. I basically just ripped off his like style where he plays the Aqua in the middle and then the beast at the back. But what I did is I spent a lot of time trying to find Winghorn Aquas, and there were very few available. And I stumbled across this one, and I really like the risky beast, risky fish combo, but it's not necessarily the best for backdoors because it's not heavy enough on the Aqua kind of damage. So in some cases, it can be difficult to backdoor a beast if they put up damage, if they put up shield. So what I did is I built it in with this back beast, which is another one that I found that it doesn't necessarily have the most damage because it's got the Arco, but the reason why it brings the team so well together is that the risky beast, risky fish combo makes up for that loss of damage, and then the beast is able to hold the Arcos if I need some sort of 1v1. So it kind of just, they complement one another really well, and then the tank just brings it all together with the serious cattail combo, which I still think is just one of the strongest. I don't even necessarily use it for the card draw because I like to hold my cards anyway. I mainly just use it for the extra damage and the 0-cost trigger. And then
okay.
the tank's role is just really to stay alive for as long as possible. And I generally play this team fairly passively until I can either kill the tank or I don't really even, I probably shouldn't say this, but I rarely even use the Winghorn.
That's what I was saying.
And I get the opponent to waste their cards on the mid liner.
Yeah.
And then just go front door. But yeah, I might change that now that I've said it.
Right, that's what I was saying. Don't give away too many tactics because, yeah, now you gotta change things up. What do you think, RC? Have you had a chance to play against Indes, this team from Indes? I don't think I've had a chance to play against this specific team. Maybe one time I played against it.
Did I play against you against his team in this?
I don't think so. We've rarely matched up this season.
Yeah.
I like the team though. I like the aquatic because I have a similar kind, but without the beast move. I have the perfect aquatic with Winghorn, Goldfish, Renchu, and Piranha, I think.
Yeah,
so
I'm very
I like it
one.
because so you can basically one-shot the beast with Renchu, Piranha, Winghorn, in first order. So yeah, I like it. The Arco does give some multiple plays. How much speed can you gain with it?
It can become faster than a pure bird.
Interesting.
Because of the reason why I picked it out was because of the bird part on the beast. It means that it just about can be quicker. I think it's 43.
43 is faster than a bird. Then you can basically do double Arco, double cut and tail. Basically, that's what you're trying.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah, and I finished it. Okay, nice. I like it.
Yeah, and that Ranchu I think is pretty underrated, especially kind of how you were saying RC against beasts. Just that Ranchu not allowing beasts to get into that triple last stand is actually super valuable. So I don't know if you've ever had that happen to you, Indes, but I was playing Ranchu for a little while and it was super effective for me.
Yeah, I use it for that, and I also generally just use it to prevent last stands on tanks, or anything like that, just to avoid a last stand in
Same.
general. Like it's very underrated. Like it's almost, I guess people just generally underestimate how impactful a last stand can be. Like just to have to either commit cards to kill it or not be able to like attack the next Axie or whatever. That's just something that if you can avoid, it's brilliant. Like normally you want to try and do it by either finishing it off to a point where you don't have to have the last stand, but with the Ranchu, you can perfectly calculate to just about kill it and not force the last stand. So I definitely think it's a really good move. And I think Grandma's fans in that same boat on birds, where I think it's a very underrated move as well.
Nice. All right, well, going into the next one at number 5, we got Mapache. I don't know how to pronounce his full name. I just say Mapache.
Mapache Ganador.
Mapache Canador. Okay, I got it. But we do got Mapache here at number 5 or number 6 now. Did it update? Hold on.
It says number 6.
Okay, I think he lost
now.
one.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just do him and then we'll do me. But yeah, we got Apache sitting at number 6. We'll do me next at number 5. But he's running just his same team. I think he's been running for 4 or 5 seasons, however long he's been playing.
He's in chat.
Oh, what's up, Apache? Shout out to you.
My boy.
Hello. Oh, dear.
What do you guys... Yeah, what do you guys think about this team, man? I mean, he's been running this team since I think he's been playing the game, and he's getting better with the team every season. And we've talked briefly a little bit before stream about it, and it just seems like this reptile is always brings it home for him. What do you guys think?
I think that's the most overpowered. Like that's the best reptile in the game for me. Like if it had guidance, it'd be even more perfect. But the moveset, like when I think of a backliner, I always think Zero-Cost Trump, and then either one of energy, like speed manipulation, energy manipulation, anything like that. And so Mapache's not only has the Trump and then the Zero-Cost combo, he also has the Rice, and then of course the Zero-Cost and Rice trigger throughout the game, and then in the 1v1 as well, just Rice just force people to, well not force, but generally just stop people from being inclined to save energy. And then Cerastus, which I think is one of the best moves in the game, and extremely underrated, and should, or even then on other, I use it on a bug.
180 damage.
Yeah, I think it's just I think it's way too strong, but I wouldn't suggest a nerf for it because I like the move. But yeah, it's just the 60 shield is just incredible, and then take something like Cactus, where Cactus has 20 shield, but it deals a lot of damage. Cerastus deals almost as much damage on it when played with the reptile and when getting the bonus, and also gets the 60 shield. So I think it's just a stupidly overpowered move. And then I run it like, of course on a reptile it's incredible, but I run it on a bug, and even there, like the shield is incredibly underrated, and then just the bonus itself is good. But then I think something else with his team, this midliner, I'm still split on it because I feel like the double backdoor is interesting, but I think he's just worked out how to play it very well, and it almost just gives like, to his team, it gives the element of, okay, do I play tank cards, and then he's also got 1 steal in, so it has some sort of synergy in the team, but I still think it could be improved on. I know he also uses a midline with like watering can, Yam, Beach, and again, he's got double watering can now on the team, which is just still for me a move that desperately needs addressing. So with any sort of team where you're running aqua moves, it's just incredibly difficult to play against. And I think if he added in one more energy steal move and he just carried on improving, it would just be almost impossible to beat him. Like he's genuinely the player that I don't want to play against in tournaments. Like I do not want to face Mapper. And the only saving grace is sometimes he makes mistakes. But I think once he's perfected it, it's just going to be easily one of the best players. He's, if not already, one of the best players in the game.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely agree with that analysis. This team is one of those teams that I've run up against this season that I do not want to play against. This reptile. I think he's almost, in my opinion, he's almost perfected how to play this reptile here in the back. But his other 2 Axies, he definitely needs there's some improvement that he can make on it. But this reptile is just so powerful, and it's able to just
Hellacious.
yeah. So so RC, what do you think? I mean, he's your teammate. What have you noticed with this team, and what have you noticed about Mapache in general?
So if you see that those three axes, the one that stands out is obviously the reptile, but the other two don't really stand out, right? It can be improved upon what Indes just said, but the way he plays it is he has basically got multiple game plans depending on the cards he has, right? And he knows exactly how to play it. So sometimes he just plays it linear, just attacking your tank, and then all of a sudden he goes try spike first just to test it out maybe, and he got the try spike and go winghorn after just to take it out, then save, then he can just do rise with mint of maybe poison, double poison, which he's sometimes does. So he has multiple game plans depending on the situations. That makes him well, I'm a little bit biased, one of the best players right now.
Interesting. Yeah, and kind of in my perspective, you know, like you had mentioned, so he'll have different lines, and that's why I'm kind of a little afraid to play him, is because before we get to the reptile in the back, I just never know what he's going to do. And some of the lines he takes, you know, I've seen him just go try spikes for shield on the Aqua and just use nothing. He just used try spikes for shield. And so it makes it very, very random, and it makes him very, very hard to play around, especially with that reptile. And I think that's why he's been doing so good.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. He seems to have an unorthodox playstyle, which may sometimes, and not necessarily shoot him in the foot, but I think there's definitely some times that you could make more optimal plays. But that also almost adds to the difficulty of playing against him, because a lot of the time, at least when I play, I want to be anticipating what the opponent does, and that basically dictates how I'm going to approach the match. And against Mappa, you don't necessarily know what he's going to do. I mean, there are some tactics that I use against him that generally work, which I'm not going to say, because then I'll be helping out even more than I have done. But like I definitely think because he has improved a lot recently. As he carries on improving, as RC said, it's just it'd be way too difficult to play against him.
Yeah, I fear him getting different Axies, you know, like a better, how you mentioned, Indes, a better midliner, potentially even a better tank. I fear that scenario. But yeah, but that is Mapache. Good job, Mapache. Always up there with that same team, so constantly being kind of impressing me each season with that same team. All right, next up, I have myself here at number 5. I think me and Mapache were just kind of switching spots at 5 and 6. So I am running this setup here on the right with the bird here in the back, the beast in the middle, and the plant as obviously my tank. And basically my whole strategy here is first round I wanted to control the game, and basically this type of team is I'm just trying to use my cards as effective as possible. So if I have a line where I could, you know, do some energy steal, that's what I'm going to want to do. And it's really all dependent on my first draw, on kind of what line I have to take. And I think we saw some of that yesterday when I was streaming is, you know, I can go the energy steal line. I can go just pure damage with my beast with the dual strike, the last one. I get a good amount of control and manipulation with the game, not only with energy steal, but with this bird here in the back, using not only eggshell, but balloon. And I will use balloon to sometimes manipulate the damage coming in. I've used balloon to manipulate or preventing some back doors. And yeah, it's a pretty straightforward team. There's not too much going on behind it. And again, I don't want to give away too many details on what I do, but I mean, what have you guys noticed? Because I know I've played, I think, RC once with this team, and Indes has watched me play this team quite a bit on stream.
Yeah, don't worry, I've already analyzed how you play it. And yeah, so this team is just it's a prime example of the kind of team that I like running. You've got a lot of outplay potential throughout the team. You've got balanced damage, the outplay potential mainly through the energy steal, but also this style of bird is one that I've always wanted to try and test out because I feel like balloons are always been kind of overshadowed by Tri-Feather, but the clear and also just being the zero cost clear for the last one just makes it such a strong bird. And then bird. And then you've also got the eggshell in there to sacrifice for certain matchups in the 1v1. It's just a really well-rounded team, and then the tank just brings it together. It's just got a nice combination of very strong moves, and then Sirius on top just for even more energy steal. And then the beast, I've still got PTSD from when we played in the tournament because I just hate it because it perfectly counters with the way I like playing the game because it's just very aggressive steals. And yeah, it's just a very well-rounded team, and you play it well. And there's definitely lots, as you said, there's lots of avenues that you can play it dependent on your draw. Like you don't have to have a certain draw to be able to play a game, and it's just very control oriented. So I think it's just it's like a perfect arena setup.
Yeah. So the beast, it's kind of what makes this team for me. It just gives me so much control, and that's kind of what goes into the creation of this team. Is if I'm using the beast, then I want it's going to have a lot of strong, beast moves. So I want something to balance out the team. And so my decision was to go with a bird because I didn't have the right aquas, but I considered using aquas as well. What do you think, RC? I mean, I don't think I've played you. I think I played you maybe once with this team, but what do you think overall?
Well, the beast is basically why I've begun starting using lagging, because I usually go triple plant because I have a lot of plants. I just like playing them. It gives me more, Well, I personally I only like using plants and aquatics. So basically with me is I have to defeat the tank in time with the right amount of cards. So I'm basically guessing when you're using the pumpkin, how many pumpkin do you use, how many series of carrot, and then go for it basically.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you are in the open, I can go lagging or even double less one lagging just to defeat that bird. So that's much easier. But the eggshell makes it a little bit of guesswork, I guess, because I personally I don't like eggshell. It's just annoying. I don't like any bird, but especially eggshell. It just triggers me sometimes because I invest too much energy sometimes, and then shoot, he got me again with the eggshell.
Yeah, it's a like
Rage
Indies
quit, basically.
for sure. And like Indies had mentioned, it's a pretty versatile team, and I think those are kind of the teams that both Indies and I like to play. However, kind of how you alluded to, RC, there is definitely some pain points in the team, and you can counter it in a lot of ways. I would say one of the big weaknesses of my team has been backdoor, and also my team is, if you look at it, just once you get past the tank, my team is pretty squishy. So my beast and my bird will pretty much. I'm only going to last a couple rounds after my tank goes. So.
Yeah, and two things on what you've both said. I think you mentioned maybe perhaps swapping in an aqua. For me, aquas play a similar role to beasts in the sense that because of risky fish, you can almost have an aqua that is tank killer as well as just the fast damage dealer that does well against other classes. So I think with that particular beast, or with beasts in general, the bird definitely fits that style. And another thing to mention is that the beast, unlike like a rimp beast, it isn't reliant upon card draw. Like with a rimp, you need the certain card draw for it to be effective. But with that beast, you've got, as you've already pointed out, you need to go damage or you can go energy still. So I think that definitely makes this team more consistent. And it's the same with like the team that Prathap runs, where it's very well, both of your teams is very almost too flexible, and I feel like a lot of that comes down to the eggshell. And I've always been a big user of eggshell, a big kind of. I just think it's a very good move, and I think it almost is too strong of a move because the damage that it deals basically just leaves you where, as long as it's accounted for on the rest of the build, you don't necessarily need that damage. So I feel like nerfing the damage slightly would make it more of a balanced move because just dictating how the rest of the game is played, like as RC said, when where it is attacked is just so strong, because even though, of course, there's lots of ways that you can account for it, you can count or keep track of when the opponent uses the eggshell, anticipate how they're going to be able to how they're going to approach the following rounds. It's still just a move that is so strong that you always have to consider it when playing against the team. And I feel like that right now, because as we've already spoken about speed, it's just added to it. It almost feels a bit too strong for me.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point, and I hope they address kind of those things with the being able to not only manipulate speed, but speed being the primary factor in most of these games that we're playing. And maybe that's something they're trying to solve, is how do we make skill less speed based, less team based, and more kind of action based, if that makes sense. So fun fact though, I purchased my tank here from Chief. Hold on, I think it'll pop up here. It must have been a year and a half ago for 0.35 ETH.
Yeah, I remember this because yesterday,
yeah,
Chief, I was on call with Chief and I was tracking some of his gene lines, and we saw this one. And there's a story behind this for him. This was the first tank he ever bred and ever sold for like a premium price. And ever since, it's been like your main tank, and it's always in most of your teams because it's just such a strong tank.
Yeah, so that's actually a pretty funny fun fact about this tank. All right, next up we have Adunajang, and I believe Adunajang is a she.
Oh, nice. I think so. I didn't even realize until yesterday when RC was referring to her.
I made a mistake with Big Crit Brit, I think she called.
Yeah.
I always thought it was a dude.
Yeah, me too. Really? Me too.
Oh,
but but she's James's mom, right?
Yeah, Binary's wife.
Yeah. But we do have Adunajang, and she's running this. So we got this basically typical plant tank here, and then we got this beast. I think she runs this beast in the back. Yeah, she does.
Yeah, beast is the back. Yeah. So, sorry, I cut you off a bit, but with this team, I helped her pick out this back beast. This is kind of like a Crypto Joe style team again, but the thing that I would say Crypto Joe's Aqua is definitely better, but I prefer the role that the beast has in this team, because it has that rise, which is that extra energy manipulation, which, as we spoke about, can sometimes be the downfall of Crypto Joe's team. But of course, it has Pumpkin, which is a balanced, although strong back, as opposed to the Watering Can, which can basically be a lifesaver in lots of matchups. And another thing here is the Cuckoo on this beast acts not only as a zero cost trigger, but Cuckoo also has like a very almost, well, you don't almost anticipate how much damage it can actually add with a beast. Like I played against her, and she's gone with Cuckoo Nutcracker, Cuckoo Nutcracker, and it did 203 damage on each Nutcracker hit. So it's just one of those ones that it almost allows you to not have to commit as many cards to finish off a tank or to finish off whatever Axie. And then, of course, the defense, like the shield as well, makes it somewhat viable in a 1v1. Like you can almost survive like one blitz if the opponent's low energy, and that's where the Rice really comes into it. It keeps the opponent at a low energy going into the 1v1. So it almost, if you have an energy advantage, has a chance against those like Aquas and Birds, albeit a very slim one.
What do you think, RC? Have you had a chance to play against Adunajang?
I don't think so, but now looking at that beast, I think I have a family of son of, maybe even dad of that beast. Can you click on that? Because I'm now looking. I have a tiny turtle, cuckoo, bone seal, rice, basically, on a beast, and it looks almost the same. Yeah.
Tiny turtle, cuckoo, rice here. Maybe it's this one, and maybe it's a father of this one or something.
RC, is this part of the line that you have with the snail shell cute bunny one?
No, it's not family. Interesting.
Maybe a brother? No. But yeah, this cuckoo rice is a super powerful combo just in itself. And then, of course, I'm always so afraid of running into risky beast crits. I don't know, for whatever reason, I've noticed that if they do ranged attacks in the back, they just always crit. I don't know if you guys have noticed the same thing, but so Kaku, risky beast into a crit is just I want to tear my hair out sometimes. But yeah, so super powerful moveset there, and then this Aqua is super versatile as well, and then that Babylonia is nothing to underestimate, because you can go Toothless, Babylonia, and you can go with this kind of Koi there in the back, and you're gonna take out any kind of bird or beast in the back line that's not doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. Babylonia, when it does get the bonus, it deals very
Yeah, I think
damage.
Jane had.
Go ahead, RC.
Yeah, so I think Biff Jane, I think he has a recent breed. I think one of the best aqua I ever saw. I don't.
Oh, he is breeding some very good aquas. I did see, yeah.
Babylonia, Lamb, and another move. I think he's. I'm just looking at the team Discord.
You'd say it was Biff Jane. Biff Jane's got one with Teal Shell as well. He's got like 2 or 3 different backline ones, like backdoor ones.
Yeah, I bred this one yesterday. I was super happy about. So Babylonia, Perch, Piranha with the fish snack. So I'm expecting, I'll probably try and use this one next season, mess around with them. But this Babylonia Perch combo is something I really wanted to test out and see how good that one actually is.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how that works without zero cost trigger, because I feel like having a Nemo on the tail really brings together that sort of build.
Yeah.
It just has a more consistent threat throughout the game, where even if they're at 2 energy, there is a possibility that they can backdoor you. But I don't know. I guess that it doesn't really matter, in the sense that there are very few players that probably account for that, or know that, or have that in their mind, that you couldn't backdoor given your energy. But yeah, I still feel like, as you said, the Babylonia combo, Babylonia, when it gets the bonus, deals the same amount of damage as similar horns like Aranda, but it gets that extra shield, and that shield's definitely not something to sleep on when you're trying to break all the midline, and especially here you've got the fish snack as well. Like, that's going to be a very, very difficult one to try and kill.
So
yeah,
I got it in Discord, right? Lamb, Babylonia, Goldfish, Shrimp. That has to be one of the combos.
Oh my gosh.
One out of one. I looked it up.
That might be the new perfect aqua, to be honest.
I know. That's why.
Close. I'm not sure, because Lamb, to me, feels just... Lamb's a really solid move, and it's overshadowed by the risky fish, but in this particular build, you don't necessarily need... you pair this with the beast, 9 out of 10 times, so you wouldn't need the risky fish. So I feel like, yeah, that this or Crypto Joe's definitely the 2 strongest aquas I've come across.
Yeah, Lamb is 120 damage, has upside when you're, I think, only below 50%, which is...
And he has Goldfish, I remember.
And then Lamb gives you 40 shield. So
yeah, this one's really, really beefy.
Yeah.
The Lamb and the Babylonia. And then, yeah, as you said, that under 50%, in comparison to something like Axie kits, you tend to be able to trigger this very often. And with... I'm not sure. Maybe the only difficulty you could run into is that all 3 of the moves have abilities attached to them that you tend to want to try and trigger. Like Lamb, you can cycle more often, but I guess in a different style of build where you have other damage cards, Lamb's going to be the one that you're going to want to try and hold on to. But I honestly don't think... I think that's more of a blessing than a difficulty. Just to have that much value on the Axie, and then that actually have to be a problem where you don't know what to use because you've got so many good cards.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to see how effective Aquas stay, especially going into version 2. But right now, it seems like Aquas are definitely kind of been one of their breakout seasons. I would say last season was the breakout season for Aquas for me. And then this season, they're really establishing themselves in the meta. And, we'll see if they stay around with all of these really powerful movesets. Okay, next up we have Quan, actually.
Hey.
So Quan from Lev0x eSports. Is that how you pronounce it? Is it Lev0x or Lev0x eSports, RC?
Lev0x.
Lev0x. Okay.
I can't be asked to say that.
Well, you don't have to say it because they are not important in the last tournament. So, you know, XCGG is a bit. Well, I had the argument with Chief about it. He basically was saying that XCGG is dominant in the last, I don't know, how many tournaments?
Quite a
There was
bit.
one that Z beat me, but even then, Axie was in the final at least. I think being in the final. Apart from this one, pretty sure in like all the tournaments, the most recent times. See, is that right?
But that was the argument basically. I was saying you basically are overcrowding the tournament because you have a lot of members instead of really performing well. And he said, no, it's the other way around. We're just very good. So this tournament, there were, I don't know how many people, 70, 80 people. And you guys didn't even, well, you only reached the semifinals, right?
Ooh.
Nate and I were both not out in the quarters, yeah.
Shots being fired here. Shots being fired.
I'm just
Duck.
saying.
All XCGG members duck.
It's a combination of the two because there's like we have a lot of members, but there's a difference. Like we've got like the similar to Lev0x where he's got like the main kind of I don't know 6, 8 players like in the kind of
10 total
arena sort of thing. Yeah, like that sort of number of players. But then there's a lot of people that are part of XCGG, but more so for different things. Like we have breeding, we just have general like people that would associate themselves with XCGG, but not necessarily be on that kind of like I couldn't say competitive team, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, I think AxiGG established itself as really the best team in the game, and you know, I think Lev0x has definitely spiced things up with this last tournament. They had a really strong showing, finishing second, third, and fourth, and we'll see. I mean, there's a little bit of rivalry coming up with, especially with this strong performance by Lev0x, and we'll see if they can perform again. But consistency is key, you know, in tournaments, and you know, I don't think AxiGG has been dethroned yet, but maybe soon.
Maybe we'd have to see the next team tournament and see which team Lev0x get knocked out by.
Yeah. So going into this team from Quan here, he's basically got two variations.
Oh, is this one? Yeah.
That bug is fire.
Oh, really? Okay. So he's got two variations.
What I was talking about earlier is the lagging chomp combo, and then he's added Thorny onto it as well. It's just evil.
Okay, yeah. So obviously, you guys have some pretty strong thoughts on this team. I haven't had the privilege, or do I want the privilege to play this team? Okay, who wants to talk first about this team? Because both of you are really hate this team.
At a certain point, it doesn't even matter which other two Axies you have because the other one is so powerful. Because this one is just wrecks people. You have the double stun basically, so Tiny Turtle plus Snail Shell, so you can kill it immediately, and it's on a bug, so he has the defensive bonus. It's just very tough. You basically have to last one plus a 0 energy move, and then you can kill it more quickly, I guess. Still, the other two Axies doesn't even matter because they aren't even that strong. They're not even that strong.
So is this bug in the back? I'm assuming.
Yeah, there's the bug in the back. So this RC and I actually had a conversation about not this bug specifically, but I think it might have been a week or so ago now, where RC was planning on testing the Chomp Snail Shell combo for 1v1, because effectively the thinking behind it is that you can leave them stunned, force them to miss an attack, and then they'll then have to account for the Snail Shell in the same attack. And this bug basically just brings everything together from that. It's like the perfect, if I was to think of a backdoor build, like the back Axie build, it's pretty much perfect. It's got the high damage, it's got the speed manipulation, and it's got double stuns, and a 0-cost trigger for the Chomp. And as RC said, I definitely think he could build it into a more effective team. But at the same time, well, I think with this Axie, it has. I have used this one that I've borrowed from Chief that has the Chomp Thorny combo. And the difficulty I find with that is that it's almost so well rounded, it's hard to build into a team. But this one, you have it's just like such a good 1v1 Axie, and then you also have the Thorny for potential damage. So I feel like it would be easier to build into a team, and kind of the way he's going with it, with the Aqua, is definitely a smart choice to almost balance the damage, but I think he could definitely do better.
Well, I know why he does it, because he can trigger the Thorny with those other two, the Jinx and the Poison. I know why he does it, but still, if you just use double Poison, it's also good. But you have to, if you attack him, Thorny is even easier, maybe even more Bone Seal, just to get Thorny quicker or something like that. Pumpkin, one of those two.
Yeah, I think the problem with his current team, like, although as you said, he has the trigger for Thorny, that mid aqua was pretty cool, but I think it needs a tad more damage, because right now, of course, the whole aim of the team is to force the 1v1 bit. He might suffer against teams that are even faster and more aggressive, and he's got an energy tank there at the front, but I don't think he necessarily needs energy. He just needs more damage, because he has double zero cost on that team. So I think cards and damage will be his downfall.
So you guys are saying this team is already painful to go up against, and if he improves his basically every Axie except this bug here, it could be significantly better. Is that what I'm hearing here?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Very, very difficult to play against, because I've already had some run-ins with this Axie. I think I played against it with the Arco Beast, like the team that I've actually been using in Arena. And I think I won 2 and lost 1. And the 2 that I won was where I used Arco to basically just cancel out his lagging, but then I also had a zero cost, which would allow me to catch the stuns. And then in the other matchup, so that was basically the 2. But then the one that I lost was where the bug's actually surprisingly tanky. Like, I read him going in for offense and saving and not using his snail shell to try and finish me off. I think I had poison or whatever, so I went with a full 4 beast combo. I think 1 or maybe 2 of them were Goda, because I didn't have an ideal draw, but he still survived and then killed me, even though I read and anticipated what he was going to do and made the correct play. I still lost just because of how strong the bug was. So I feel like, as we've already said, if he builds it into a better team, it's just going to be one of those ones which is just going to be a right pain in the ass to play against.
Well, I hope I don't play against this team. I think I would maybe have a better chance because I'm running that bird in the back on my team, so maybe I would have a little bit better chance, but I could see this bug just destroying faces, not only with the lagging, but you got that chomp combo there too, so yeah, I do hope I never face this team, and we'll see where Quan ends up at the end of the season. Let's see how many games has he played here. 121, so decent amount of games. And
Yeah,
Quan is one of those. Yeah, he's one of those players where there's a lot of room for improvement with him. So it's scary. I mean, if he really just focuses on this team and improving, and you guys say that it's that difficult to play against, maybe we see Quan in the top 5 this season. Who knows?
Yeah, I definitely think Quan's in a similar boat to Mappa was maybe 2 months ago, where he's got really strong Axies. He's got a team setup that could potentially be further optimized, but he's also got a lot of room for improvement just in his general play. So once we see that, he'll just be another player that is very, very frustrating to come against, and one that you'd have to almost bring a counter team just to account for that bug. And I think that's impossible for Arena, so it's definitely just one of those ones which is annoying to face for Arena.
For
so
sure.
The only positive thing is that you can completely cancel it out with Graphite Hand, so there's that.
That's very true. Yeah, that's one of those things that you could potentially bring as a counter.
Yeah. All right, next up we have AK sitting here at number 9, and we'll go through AK Nate, and it looks like Nate surpassed you, RC, but we'll let RC, when we started the kind of this show / podcast, whatever you want to call it, RC was sitting at number 10. So we'll go through AK, Nate, and then we'll let RC shout his team here at number 11. He did say he was going to do some games after this, so he'll probably get back up there. But let's see. AK is, I think he runs a whole bunch of different teams, to be honest with you.
He uses one in Arena. Never mind, he switched it. The one I was thinking of is this one on the right, and I don't know if you've played against it, but this back Axie of his, It's his patented back Axie.
Oh yeah, I played against it.
Yeah, it's just it's a
Nice.
very
Nice.
the only thing I could potentially say about it that could be improved is that it can lack damage. But the Chomp Kaku Croc combo is one of the strongest combos in the game because, as I've spoken about countless times, it feels like now the zero cost Chomp and then speed manipulation is just incredibly strong. And then if that tail, right now, AK and I spoke about today, if that tail was Wall Gecko, that thing's unkillable. Any
Oh,
sort of like high damage move on the tail would
no,
be
no, no,
insane.
no, no.
Yeah, that would be nigh unkillable. Yeah, I've had a
for the
chance
rest
to
of the
play
team-
against it. Oh,
Sorry,
go ahead.
on. No,
No.
I'm cutting you off.
Oh, yeah, I just was going to say I had a chance to go against it. And the key to kind of beating this team here on the right that I've noticed is you just always need to account for this back Axie here with the Fishknack, the Chomp, and he's got Croc here and Kaku. And AK's actually inspired me to buy a couple different Chomp finisher Axies. But yeah, I think that's the key to beating this team here is you really have to just account for this back Axie at all times. And if you think you're ahead, you're probably not that far ahead because this back Axie is such a good finisher.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the thing that's really underrated about these zero cost Chomp combos is that you can claw back from a point of like a massive energy like disadvantage just because you can stay in the game and you can keep up your shield and you can waste one card of the enemy or even potentially an energy each round. So even if you are ahead, like I've played against it a couple of times this season, this team, and I think I'm about 2-1 against the team. And the 2 games I won was through I only managed. The only reason why I won was because I got to the 1v1 with such an advantage because I managed to anticipate what he was going to do throughout the game that I was able to win. But then in the other one, it got into a 2v1 where I had a massive energy advantage, but then he double crocked me, which messed up my whole like game plan. I made a small mistake, but then even from he had like I had about 8 energy, he had 3, and I still managed to lose in a 2v1 just because of how strong that back Axie is. And I think the backdoor Winghorn guy just brings the team together because it has another threat. I definitely think if I was to kind of pinpoint a weakness for the team is that it lacks damage, but that can be made up for by the 1v1 Axie. But I still feel like with these 1v1 Axies, people are yet to find like a perfect way to build them into a team. Like the reptiles, they have their beasts which account like that synergize really well. Like I used the zero cost Chomp with the reptile, but these plant ones, even like the plant Katara bruisers, I still struggle to kind of like theorize what the best possible team for them to slot into would be.
Yeah. RC, any thoughts?
No, I'm just very jealous on the plant Axie. Use it a couple seasons in a row now, but sometimes he don't use it in the season, and it keeps using it sometimes, and it's just very, very hard to kill.
Yeah. And then now he looks like he's doing this triple wall gecko tactics. He's won the last, I see, 4 out of his 5 here. So, yeah, wall gecko. We'll see if wall gecko reigns supreme again this season. That being said, we'll go into Nate, and let's see what Nate is running. I think Nate was able to finish in the top 3 last season, if I'm not mistaken, with the wall gecko.
Yeah.
So let's see what he's running.
The thing to say about that is that Nate didn't even have much time to push last season, but the walking team is so strong that he didn't have to. Like he got up fairly easily.
Yeah, so it looks like this season he is running. Oh, let me get back to my display here. So he's running, his most used team is this double aqua, but he switched it up recently. But I do think I have seen most of this this double aqua type of team this season again. Well, I played against him a few times. Similar to Brendan, except he's just using that plant tank in the front rather than like a little wonky aqua tank. No disrespect to Brendan, of course. What do you guys think?
So this team, this setup, Biove and I 2-3 seasons ago basically did a lot of testing and found that or at least to me, the best possible setup for an aqua team is to have a mid liner that has Nemo and then a back liner that has Koi. Backdoor covered, high damage, I prefer having a midliner similar to Deboz's. Lev0x has bred them, where it's got either Bone Cell or Sponge to have a bit more of a bruisery kind of spin, and then 2 high damage moves, Risky Fish plus either Shoal Star, Pliers, Jewel Blade, anything like that works really well. For me, I still haven't found the best possible tank. I don't necessarily think that's the most ideal tank. I think I've spoken to Nate about this, and I think he actually changed it up. Where this tank has high damage on a team that already has a lot of high damage. It has 2 sources of energy gain, but it's also very low on shield. Well, 2 sources of energy gain, but it's fairly low on shield. So I think to improve it, I'd honestly go with the one that he runs with, like Watering Can, Chomp, Leaf Bug, Carrot. I think that'd be a really good fit. Or any sort of more survivability, energy gain oriented tank that doesn't necessarily have that much damage. And then his back Koi Aqua is like the perfect Koi Aqua. It's the only one that exists with the Risky Fish, Risky Beast combo with Shoal and then Koi. And to put it into perspective, how rare that is. Koi plus Shoal Star plus Risky Fish, there's only 3 that exist, 2 of which are viable. The second is one that Lev0x is bred that has Goldfish on and not a Beast move. And the reason why this Beast move is so strong is that it then allows you to go the Risky Fish, Risky Beast combo, and it deals over 300 damage against plants. So it basically makes up for that one weakness of Aqua's, which is, well, like the matchup weakness, which is the plants or the reptiles, and just allows him to deal massive amounts of damage, manipulate the speed to counter birds. The only issue with it is that it is 51 speed, and I touched on it a bit earlier, where that's supposed to be quicker than birds, but because of rounding down from 61.2 speed to 61, it then goes to the more traditional health first, and then etc. etc. So it doesn't necessarily work in all situations. So sometimes he has to go with double Koi, which can lead to some sort of difficulty. But yeah, in general, it's just an incredibly well-rounded team.
That's an interesting perspective there. Good to know about that 61 speed, as I'm running that 61 speed bird. Yeah, again, similar to RC, slight variant with the kind of this, what is this called? I always forget. Risky shot, like the bat, Risky Beast, yeah. So slight variant with the Risky Beast, a little bit better against, I would say, plant tanks, kind of being able to do a little bit more damage against plant tanks with that Risky. And yeah, I would say a very overall, very well-rounded team. And he's obviously been doing very well with it. However, I noticed he's been trying to switch it up, but not doing too good. It looks like only 3-2. RC, what do you think about Nate's team here with the double Aqua?
Well, the strange thing I find is Brandon is basically higher than Nate, and he has that wonky tank basically with only the triple Aqua, right? And I like this tank a lot more. I would think that this team does better than Nate's. Why is this team so low in the ranking? That's my question. Because with Kutero Cactus Carrot, I think is one of the best combos. I think I use it a lot.
Yeah,
so I would say that it's probably just because Nate hasn't. Well, Nate doesn't really play. He's been busy and he doesn't play as much arena, so he probably just hasn't pushed up. And as we just saw, he's tilted down a bit with another team as well. So yeah,
the speed of the thing is 34.
33. It's got 2 reptile parts.
Oh, the ice near. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. Nate usually does like a last kind of week push or last day or 2 push. We'll see where he ends up, but he's one of those players where, I feel like it's kind of Axie GG's premier players are, Indes and Nate, and he's another one of those really good players. He's got 2 really good Aqua Axies this season, and he's the type of player that likes to take certain moves or certain strategies and take them to the extreme and just kind of try to break the game.
Abuse the system. That's
exactly. And we'll see where he's able to take this Aqua. Maybe his win rate, even with this really good Aqua team, is not as high as he wants it to be to push. So maybe that's why he's trying other teams here. But this is a very strong double Aqua team, and I think if he takes the time to play, he is going to be good enough to be able to push at least top 5. So yeah, definitely a player to watch out for. And that being said, next up we got the one and only RC sitting at number 11. And RC, what you got going on with your team?
Let's show it on stream because I don't even know.
RC's, for those who don't know, RC plays so many different teams. Like if he's in the top 10, you can't even look on Axie Zone and predict what he's going to play against you.
Not really. What I usually do is I start with one team and just switch one Axie each match, or switch the entire team. I just have fun with it basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see it on stream. So the most used is So the right one is basically Magic Forest copy, but just to troll him, just double antenna with my backline.
Oh, I hated that team, man.
And you can't really save energy. And even if you poison me, I don't care. I would attack with my back Axie, and just until the tank is gone, or until I know sure the tank is gone, I'm gonna attack it with my back Axie, and then just I can defend with my mid Axie, the Gouda one, and I can do double pumpkin or pumpkin fish snack, so nothing gets through, and just Kotaro, and I get a card draw, and then basically it's end of the line for some teams who are really aquatic or bird heavy.
So this plant with the snail shell, this is your finisher Axie, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, this at first glance, this looks like a really frustrating team to run up against, and I think like this counters a lot of these aqua shenanigans going on. Even some bird teams, which makes sense because RC is the #1 bird hater out there, and running that double plant, double fish snack. But it's definitely smart. When you look at the meta, you're starting to see a lot more aquas out there. You really want to try to counter these heavy bird teams, or just even a team with one bird, and you got this really strong finisher Axie here in the back. And so at first glance, like, this team looks super painful to play against, and I think it's one of those teams where you don't want the energy to start snowballing in RC's favor.
The worst thing you can do against this team is waste cards, because it's gonna catch up later in the game, and I'm just gonna do Kotaro Cactus.
Yeah.
It's just so disgusting. Oh, have you found that sometimes it may lack damage, or does it the overwhelming energy kind of steal account for that?
Well, sometimes I get the incidental bomb rush, so basically Beast who does double nutcracker, little branch or whatever, and then it's basically over. But if I get through the first 2 rounds, I usually get my antenna, and if I don't get my antenna, I get my Gouda, and if I don't get it, I just wait and then do my Kotaro, because my Kotaro is on 32 speed, so I usually get my energy. So it's just building energy, and when I have all my cards on my back Axie, I can just relax and then do my thing.
Nice.
Fair enough.
Well, okay. Any other shout outs on the ladder? Anyone that we need to look out for? I'm not going to go into the team specifically, but any shout outs for any players that you've seen climbing the ranks? I know Iron Man, he's a pretty good player that I've noticed really kind of doing not only a lot of improving, but he's got some pretty good teams too.
Yeah, he plays
Demon guy. He's annoying.
Oh yeah, there's quite a few of them, but yeah, on Iron Man he plays unsettlingly similar to Pratap, so I think there's a bit of mentorship going on there. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him push up soon.
No, I think there is actually, because Pratap tried to. He messaged me. Oh, what was the invitational that I did? The invitational, Pratap messaged me and said, "Hey, can you get Iron Man in?" And at the time, Iron Man he hadn't done anything, and so I said, no, he needs to prove himself. And so Brathat messaged me back and he said, "Oh, you know, like, he will prove to you that he's should be, you know, in the top 10, you know, should be in an invitational." So I do think there is some mentorship going on. Anyone?
They run very similar teams and very similar style. I think it's borderline button pusher, to be honest.
I like this word.
What does that mean? As an American, I'm not sure what that means.
Well, it's very simple. It's basically if you have a team where you don't have to think, you only have to press, you know, you swipe with your finger the cards, as many cards as you want, and then press engage, and that's it.
Brathat coming up with the formula.
Yeah, it's very similar to the team that I ran the season before last, but then just more annoying. But yeah, the phrase button pusher, well, that's not what it means. I was going to get up a proper definition, but effectively in English, it's like a saying that just means like if something pushes your buttons, then it just frustrates you.
Oh, yeah, what we use here is like when we talk shit on like people who are, you know, like they just don't do anything except use the most overpowered moves, or there's not much skill, is I've heard the term called it's called face roll, where basically back in my World of Warcraft days, you would use the term face roll, and that would mean like all you did was just roll your face on your keyboard and you won.
That's quite funny. I might have to use that one.
Yeah.
I'm sure Odin would use smooth brain.
Any other people that stand out for you guys?
I just had to scroll down. I think what's the name? Forgotten. Gil Hermit B. That's joined the Axie GG Discord recently. Runs a Bird Beast team, and I think he's getting a good hang of it. So I could definitely see him up there soon. And then of course just the normal Biff Chain seems quite low down. I expect him to be up in the top 10 by the end of the season. And then ODP as well is getting up. I think we can definitely see him with like a strong top 15, maybe even top 10 finish. Depends how much he plays.
I think Biff Chain is testing right now.
Ooh.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen him play.
Good point. So RC, your player to watch out for is Biff Chain, and Indes, you think this guy, I don't know how to pronounce the name. Hermit to be?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. He's running this. He's running a nice team here. Well, okay. Yeah, we will see what happens. We're going to go ahead and end the show there. We've actually been talking for almost 3 hours now, which is insane. But we have, right? We started at 2, so it's, 2 hours and 40 minutes.
We've been on call for 3 hours.
So that's actually insane, but I really enjoyed this, kind of going over strategy, going over, you know, different things. And also, I actually really enjoyed going through the ladder. And maybe we can make this a weekly or bi-weekly type of thing. And maybe just cut down the time just a little bit to maybe 1 to 2 hours. But I actually really enjoyed this, and I appreciate you guys coming on, and I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope the people who are watching found this type of show beneficial.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. It's definitely a great way to spend my evening, and I'll need to go to bed soon because I've got school tomorrow.
All right. Any last words, RC?
Yeah, I need to sleep as well. I need to get to work tomorrow. So thank you for the invitation. I like talking Axie always. So this is it benefited my addiction, so to speak.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we will end the stream there. Again, thank you all for coming, and hopefully we will see everyone there in chat, and hopefully some new people in the next week or two. So with that being said, we'll see you guys later. Peace. All right. Goodbye, everyone in chat. It's been real. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate the support and all the follows. I see Big Cat 22 with that last follow, so thank you. Went a little bit longer than I normally would have wanted to, but I was really enjoying the conversations, and I was really enjoying kind of the ladder talk, to be honest with you. And hopefully we can do this again, maybe next week or in 2 more weeks. We'll have to see what everyone's schedule is. But yeah, I appreciate everyone tuning in. And yeah, hopefully I will be able to see you all soon. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Bye.